Ulonkata bati yada to ye kuma daifa. Inu to ye ko je love bipa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Zongo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, tan she nile yo. O jalo jare.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Arisha Bemi, and today we're back with another episode with the big three, man. Shout out to the brother Bdell, 1014, and the big chief, Rod Hayes, in the building. Appreciate y'all, fellas. Appreciate you coming through.
Appreciate it.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So right before we came on, Big Chief, I think you were sharing something about an anniversary, man. And it wasn't no Tony, but it was an anniversary. So you you want to dive in, man, and let the good people know what kind of anniversary we're looking at and why, you know, that kind of ties into what some of the things that we're dealing with today.
So tribal oral traditions, you have to put it in the public domain, timestamp archivable format. 5 years ago today is when I gave the public notice to cancel all of the treaties for fraud and non-performance. Right? Fraud came in the fact that all of the names on the treaties is Europeans on both sides. And we ain't pay that no attention. Mm-hmm. You don't see on none of the treaties, you don't see Little River running, you don't see Black Eagle soaring, you don't see none of that. You see John Smith and William Jackson. Those are European names, right? So now all of the treaties got these European names on them, and then they trying to pass it off as if the tribes signed the treaties. But we didn't sign the treaty. All of the what we call non-treaty tribes are called outlaw tribes or gangs. They're not accepted in the mainstream narrative as the actual blood right heirs to the land. So on this day, 2019, was when I issued the declaration by the blood and the right to cancel the contracts for fraud and non-performance. The non-performance is nobody ever filed a treaty that they ever completely honored. Then anytime you in a contract with somebody, the person who fails to uphold their end of the bargain, then they are the ones, the other person have the right to cancel the contract because the other party not living up to it. The person that's not living up to it cannot enforce the treaty. But the one who honored the treaty from A to Z, and they still being dismissed as if they not standing in good standing in the treaty, they got a right to cancel the treaty and renegotiate the treaty or whatever they want to do. In our case, we don't want no more renegotiations. We don't want no extensions of contract. We don't want to resurrect no dead contracts. So it was today, 5 years ago. And then 13 days from today, it'll be the 5-year anniversary that the Rothschilds surrendered their Federal Reserve allodial title that they drew up on our land. Mm-hmm. Right? We don't write allodial titles because we know where we belong on the land. Europeans write allodial titles because they always try to change the agreement after the fact. So to keep them from changing the agreement after the fact, anything they do, they have to write it down. All we have to do on the tribes' oral traditions, put it in the public domain. The 13th day from the 6th to the 19th is significant because the number 13 is the seal of the Queen Mother, the mother of the king to be, right? So this is the Isis or Horus Ascension platform that's being used in modern times, using ancient wisdom in order to overthrow the legal fiction and establish the matriarchal order that we was under before they came. So we all know what was going on after 1492, but don't nobody want to ask the question, what was we doing in 1490?
Mm-hmm. So you basically talking about Geneva Code Convention codes?
Those Johnny come lately codes.
Yeah, those violations.
Yeah, so under the Geneva Convention, America already been found guilty for genocide, invasion of foreign territory. Like, people don't know they don't belong here. This corporation don't belong here. So they got like 5 major counts, ethnic cleansing, all in they conviction in the World Court in Geneva, Switzerland. The irony to that is the stronghold of the black hand that we call the black nobility, which is the blackamoors who came, is in Switzerland. And that's why they the neutral territory, because they're going to finance both sides of the war to make sure people continuously fight against each other so that they will never come to some kind of comprehensive understanding of who are you fighting.
Right.
Right. Like most of the inner city hood drama, we doing it to people that look like us. We killing people that look like us. In the suburbs, pale faces is killing people that look like them.
Right.
Right. If you go to Chinatown, ain't nobody harassing Chinese but Chinese people. They make you turn you on your own. That's the same as giving a dog rabies and throwing them in the pack.
Mm-hmm. Is that also part of the reason why, you know, Donald Trump, he signed the Secular Declaration of Independence on July the 4th of 2020?
He had to.
Yeah.
Because the secondary, what that was it was reclaiming the republic from the admiralty.
Mm-hmm.
The republic is the gateway back to the tribal jurisdiction, which is territorial.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The republic operates under what's called public law. The corporation operates under statutes and codes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in order for to go back to tribal, we have to go through the republic because you got to see everything coming out that you've seen going in. And that's why when you do a historical analysis, the names, all of that stuff is significant to the transition of power.
That's deep, and we're seeing a lot of transition, right? From the cosmic level, you know, we've covered this in a lot of the last previous shows, from Armageddon to the Art of War to the End As We Know. All those shows, we kind of covered a lot of what we're seeing. But when it comes to like where we are now, there's a lot of different anomalies. Like, for example, Bdell, when you was, I think it might have been the same time when you was up there in Stone Mountain, that they had that big solar flare that hit Georgia, right?
No, it was a meteorite that hit Blacksville, Georgia, and that hit on the same day that it was on the same day of Dr. Malachi York's birthday. Yep. Now, remember, I was telling you about Meteor Man, and I was telling you how it works in tandem with the Sufi order of the Sons of Green Light, and he's a part of that Melchizedek order, Dr. York. But yeah, so as I was saying, you know, when we was at, you know, Stone Mountain, it's on a dark energy ley line. Anytime you have a magnetic energy close to a ley line, that opens up portals. So you should have seen it. It was birds, it was doves, bees. So it was all correlated, you know, from a metaphysical standpoint, because the dove in itself is a representation of the corpus callosum, the both hemispheres of the brain. And then you had the bees out there, which is a representation of the matriarchal energy. So it's a form of restoration, and it's in other cultures, it's also a harbinger of judgment when you see the beast. Not only it's not because it's subjected to us, it's because it's subjected to those who inverted reality to placate to their system.
Yeah, it was a lot going on in that time frame too. Because if I'm not mistaken, I saw Forbidden Knowledge shared a video, a clip about like a craft that. Where was that at? That one that was dope too. That craft that
was in Florida.
That was in Florida too.
I believe that was in Florida. Yep.
Wow.
Talking about the cigar-shaped craft with the African American looking individuals coming off the craft with the afros.
No, this one was like it was like a circular craft.
The disc.
Yeah, it was a disc craft, but it was dope. I had to send it to you, but it was dope because whoever caught the footage, and there was a couple people recording, they caught the footage of it suspended in the air, and then it was beaming down. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was dope. I'll send you that video, but it was clear. It was crystal clear. It was dope.
You remember? I don't know if y'all remember, but I'll keep telling everybody that this Inky this is called the Sons of Inky. It's a couple hundred of them on the ships, on the cigar-shaped ships. The cigar-shaped ship is the obelisk. The obelisk is the phallus of Osiris. which represents the great father energy, which represents Enki. The sons of Enki, if Malik can be out before they get here, they bullets ain't gonna do no good.
Right.
It's gonna be like Black Adam going to get him.
Yeah.
And it don't matter to me one way or another.
Yeah.
They can either get down and lay down, but one thing about it, they gonna back down.
Oh yeah. And we've seen that in real life. What Simeon Toku?
Yeah.
Y'all remember Simeon Toku?
Them the kind of guys they is. Them exactly the kind of guys they is. And they ain't regular. Like we used to seeing our 3D paradigm from a dumbed down perspective. Like they don't allow us to evolve beyond 6 years old. That's why our first grade is at 6 years old. Right? Because that's when the brainwashing, the step down from critical thinking is enacted at 6 years old. So all of the adults walking around now are fully grown 6-year-olds, mature through the society's programs. You only can mature to 6 years old because you're just old enough to follow instruction, but you're not wise enough to effectively take over. Even if you throw a tantrum, they call them protests. Even if you throw in a social tantrum, it won't overcome the obstacle in front of you. All it'll do is make them say, okay, let's make it look like we did something for them, and then we're going to keep on raping them.
Yeah, because that trauma in itself rewires the neurotransmitters. It's called the recursive trauma loop system. And it basically stagnates that olfactory nerve to where you can't tap into the right knowledge as far as like, which basically puts a strain on the hypothalamus gland. So it kind of like manipulates, the frontal cortexes or whatever to where it keeps you subjected to indoctrination programs.
Yeah, that's deep. And I'm glad we're talking about this because there was a couple of different comments and questions that I wanted to address from the channel. And one of them was a brother was asking, I can't remember if it was a brother or sister, but they were asking if, I guess they're under the thought process or the belief that we're living under a dome, right? That's what I'm gathering from their perspective of the way they asked the question. But they also were saying like, if we're under a dome or if we have like a I know Trump was trying to put the golden cover over the planet or over certain parts of the United States, whatever. If that's the case,
that's a missile defense system.
Yeah.
They were asking how did the meteorites get in and where did they come from? Is what the question was in regards to about what we're talking about.
Look, it's one thing to get in; it's a whole other animal to get out.
Right.
Look, if we was living under a dome, it would be easy to prove because where the dome meets the earth, there would be a circular energy flow at the bottom. That means that you'll be able to walk up and touch the dome, but on your way there, you're going to run into high winds where the dome is forcing the wind down to the land. Okay, these are called high pressure, low pressure centers. When it rains, normally we have what's called a low pressure center. That means the upper atmosphere literally drops lower and closer to the surface of the earth. What they call in the dome is the Van Allen belt. It's a radiation barrier that was put in place by the Pleiadians and Arcturians working in tandem using two different forms of light magic. Right? And it's radiation. Well, the problem with getting out of it is they got what's called space windows, openings in it. And this is why they try to align stuff to get outside of it. If we got all these doggone satellites that they've been putting up there and we under a dome, you would be able to see them brighter than the stars.
Yes.
So it's either two things. If we under a dome, then ain't no satellites up there. They just telling us that and hope we believe it. Right. Or they know that it's a radiation belt that they have to meticulously navigate through, and that they further away from the earth than they telling us. But remember, they're not even supposed to be a quarter of the distance from Earth to the moon. Right. So that means that the meteorites, the satellites should be more visible than most of the stars. They should be brighter in the night sky than most of the stars. We're talking about thousands of satellites over the last 50, 60 years. Right? So the Pleiadian light lock is actually to contain, it's a containment barrier for the ones fighting the war, not to affect other star systems, because for 1945, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the discharge of the nuclear weapons is what made them know it's time to start shutting it down now. Because they reached the technological ability to produce nuclear weapons, which means that inside of this radiation belt, the nuclear fallout can't escape it. Which means that if we keep sending nuclear weapons off on the planet, eventually the radiation will be so dense in the air that it'll start affecting the genetic code. Right?
Yeah.
Once the DNA, because the only thing that causes the spontaneous mutation is the radiation, and it normally comes from the UV light of the sun, solar radiation. This is why I keep telling everybody watching the Schumann resonance, because the Earth is responding to solar flares. Anybody can look it up, but we don't talk about the biorhythm, because the biorhythm, once you track your biorhythms about a year, you will know when the optimum time to manifest and the optimum time to sit your tail down.
Yep. You got to read the book Ringmakers of Saturn by Norman Bergen.
Oh yeah, because they actually filmed the ring still being made in real time, and we think it's a joke.
Right. And that's what I was saying. Those rings are the magneto-hydrodynamic Cassini gaps. It's a holographic projection that operates on an extraction process. And it's also tether connected to the Van Allen belt of what Rod was saying as far as like light code lockdown. Because the demiurge in itself is really a geometrical metaphysical prism, which is a prison planet that traps light. So this is why a lot of people say, you know, the religion in itself is a form of a soul trap, because it's basically the embodiment of Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is also known as the Metatronic overlay that traps light. And the only way to trap the light is when you believe in things outside of yourself. So when you look at the sigils of the crucifix, the Kaaba and Mecca, it's all a veneration for the cube of Saturn, which is actually Satan. This is all associated with the deep state shadow government. When you're talking about democracy, when you look at the word Krasi, it means chronos. Chronos means chronology that keeps you trapped in an artificial time analysis mechanism. To keep you trapped in time is to keep you trapped outside of your life, to make you believe that you're actually the body and not the soul. It was kind of like a bait and switch. So that's why I said there's no evolution for the third dimension, because the more that you have these solar flares coming in, it's going to manipulate the Metatronic overlay. It's going to cause, you know, glitches in interface transitions, deja vu. All these things is basically dark energy ley lines being activated by these coronal mass ejections that's coming down to the planet. So another way to break free from that, you got to break free mentally. They call it the VMOT2 gene. It's the versatile monomod transporter 2 gene. It's kind of like the same thing. It puts an encryption over the brain, just like you have an encryption over the planet. So that's why the neurological clock is connected to the cosmic clock. They're going to both reset at the same time. So a shift in consciousness is a shift in the frequency of Earth.
You remember me saying repeatedly you had to educate yourself above the condition?
Yeah.
That means you got to educate yourself to an ancient 25 years old from a modern 6-year-old adult. Right. The quality of information that a 6-year-old used to get in ancient times can be understood by reading Aesop's fables. Aesop's fables is children's story for 4 and 5-year-olds, but it's college level curriculum now. That's the verification of the dumbing down of the people. So the only way out is to educate yourself above the condition. Reading is weightlifting for the brain.
Facts.
Right? And so we doing heavy lifting in the library, and they laughing at us, saying you will never find it in there. And we found everything we needed buried under the lies.
Facts. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So when it comes to what you said about the light code lockdown, right, Bdell, and then Big Chief, I know all of us have spoken about this in depth with the magnitude of the solar flares and the Schumann resonance and the sun, the way it's coming in, the rays and all that. What is the significance of them by doing like what all the stuff that they're doing to create the chemtrails and to create all these fake clouds and, you know, CERN and HARP and all these different weather modification programs? What are the benefits of them creating some sort of like shield or whatever you want to call it, like a blocker from the sun, from us being activated by this heightened level of the solar flares and the way the sun is spread?
What they was doing was called terraform.
That's right.
Now, most of us don't know, in 2017, Trump grounded all of the chemtrail planes. What you see now is called clean trail planes. Right? I keep telling people this is why in some places it's raining stuff that look like concrete. Those are binders to take certain chemicals out of the atmosphere, and it look like rocks and concrete dust falling off the sky. Because the binder, once it lock onto it, it makes it heavier than the atmosphere, which means it have to come back to the ground. In the wintertime, we seeing snow that look like styrofoam because of the binder used to clean up the chemtrails, right? The whole purpose of putting us in the light lock is to isolate the war zone. You gotta remember, when you go to Revelations, the devil wasn't cast to hell, he was cast to earth. So why we keep thinking that the devil is in hell? Somebody else down there, but the devil ain't. The devil walking around on earth. The devil is in Lil. He was trapped in here just like Inky was, just like Anu was. They got trapped in here because of the last, I think it was a pyramid war. The last pyramid war, it happened like 30-something thousand BC. Right? So we only 2,000 years on the other side of that, the AD period. And what we're looking at is the return of the ancient ones, as Empress Verdiasi wrote about. Who is the ancient ones? The first blood, the old blood people that's primarily characteristic of the tribes of the Americas. You have other old bloodlines around the world, but the most prominent old blood is the tribes over here they call Native Americans or African Americans or indigenous Americans. That's the old blood. And the old blood is Omega blood, right? So when you think in Omega blood, the ones who watch anime know what it means to have Omega level power. The A blood is alpha, the B blood is beta, which gives you your ABO blood grouping. Then you have your positive resonance, and then you have your negative resonance, which gives you your frequency output and pitch of the blood. So when you understand what all that stuff about the blood, you know that they telling us more than what they telling us. Right. So they give you an inference to something without telling you why they ain't giving you the inference. But once you start going through the history record, you know, like I was just talking to young girl and I was telling them most of the people, the language was named after the people, but the people was there before the language. Right?
Now,
because you can't have a language that don't nobody speak.
Right.
And if it ain't nobody there to speak it, who's writing the language?
Right.
So the people had to precede the linguistic stocks, but you still got bloodlines that's blood stock. So you got cultural influence, cultural geographical influence. All this stuff is converging to break us free from the Van Allen belt, because the solar flares is gradually diminishing the radioactive barrier between Earth and the sun. This is why the sun cycle is identified as coming in once again in the age of Aquarius. And the fifth dimension gave us the song back in the 60s. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It take approximately 75 years to 100 years for a whole age to shift. But if people not prepared for it to shift, it can be slowed down as much as 300 years.
What is the significance in regards to the old blood type because I know there was some questions about that too. I can't remember exactly what that question was, but in regards to, they wanted us to go deeper into the old blood type. So we know it's the original blood type, but was that the original blood type stateside here in the Americas, Turtle Island, and Africa, etc.? Like where can we trace or track down the origins of the old blood type?
I just gave you the answer to that.
Here in the last, original Atlanteans.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, that's deep. So now
that's a lot of times we was green. The melanin was at a high potent frequency that we had a genetic format of Osiris.
Yeah.
That's because the hemoglobin cellular structure didn't break down intrinsically. But now when you live in a demiurge, when you breathe in oxygen, the oxidation breaks down the hemoglobin to the point where it starts the aging process.
You got to remember that the magnesium was replaced with iron too, in order for the rust effect to cause your skin colors to be shades of brown instead of shades of green to blue.
Yep. That's facts.
Right. So a lot of us, we don't understand that we only this carbon base, we going from carbon base to crystalline base.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember your DNA is microcrystals made up of amino acids, right? And these is the ones that the mitochondrial relay the information through to the conscious being that's inhabiting the body in a light body inside of a meat modem, right? The Earth rover.
Yeah.
And that's because the carbon body in itself is photovoltaic. We have the ability to convert gamma radiation into bioelectricity. So when Rod, he was talking about the solar flares, those solar flares is the ancestors upgrading our genetic format. The ancestors is working through us. It's kind of like the the law of reciprocity. Energy expands and returns to itself. So some of the ancient souls of Tartaria, the ancient souls of Atlantis, the ancient souls of ancient Kemet, the ancient souls of Shambhala, when they died, their essence, they went inside the sun. Now they're coming back to the planet in the form of a solar flare. So this is why you're seeing a spike in the Schumann resonance. This is why you're seeing all these things and all these anomalies going on. It's
you ever notice the tattoo Rasheed Wallace have on his arm?
You talking about with the Kemetic, like Medu Nature looking type of art?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's Akhenaten's family. It's Akhenaten Tut and his mama, Nefertiti.
Yeah.
But that ain't the important part. The solar disk above them have lines coming off, and at the end of each line, it looked like it's a hand there.
Yep. Almost like this, yeah.
Now, why is that there? What is that? Remember, you always hear the church, they talking about the hand of God.
Yeah.
And they talking about the unseen hand of God. It's talking about the solar rays. And this is the descriptive analysis the ancestor left us. So when we hear you talking about the unseen hand of God, we know you talking about the solar rays that's coming from the sun that can upgrade your genetic structure to turn you from a entry level mutant to an omega level mutant if you got the blood and the right to carry the frequency. That's all it's talking about. Who can carry the frequency of the gods? You got a self-improvement is the only blueprint pathway. It's always working on yourself to be better today than you was yesterday that make you qualified to awaken as one of them.
Yep, that's facts.
And that's all correlated to the philosophy of Apophis, where human becomes God. You know what I'm saying? They understand that, the philosopher's stone is actually the pineal gland. Crystallization takes place.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's deep. And somebody, the tribe was talking about they wanted to see that tap, but this is what it is right here, what he's explaining. So this one's from the Nine Ether book. Pretty much this is the image in which Big Chief is talking about with the hands coming from the sun, the solar rays that look like rays, but then at the end they got the hand right there. And then you can find that on this book. Shout out to African Creation Energy. You can find it in their book. I think their website is africancreationenergy.com. And then with the other thing that we were talking about too, when we were talking about the melanin and being green, this is another publication by Malachi York where he talks about, you know, the differences us coming from that green olive tone, you know, complexion, and then how it turned into rust. And then he spoke about how, you know, the chlorophyll, the zinc, you know, all those different elements all played a role into, and then oxygen as well plays a role into how we kind of developed into the brown melanated complexion versus the olive green complexion, right?
Yeah. That also goes into when I tell you we spring from the earth like trees. Right? The light body always been able to incarnate and disincarnate. The problem is nobody has the discipline required in this era of lack of discipline, self-discipline, to develop the faculty in order to be able to separate their physical body and their light body and walk around in their light body. And people see them in foreign places and even don't even realize that they're not even really there. That's just their light body magnetically attracting the local atomic field to form an artificial body around the light body in order for people to see them.
That's
all done with the power of a well-developed mind. The problem with the era we in, microwave culture, everybody want it right now. It takes years to develop enough of the faculty and control to be able to walk the earth. And you can take a trip, a vacation, by going into meditation, and you can physically materialize in a foreign place and walk around while your body is over here doing meditation. You experiencing your vacation over there.
Right.
That's a real thing. I was talking about this like before I met y'all, before y'all started coming on the show. I remember I had a show, I think it was Baba Ifa Karade, but I remember literally I was in two realms simultaneously and moving my body without knowing, like consciously, which realm I was in. So what happened is I was dreaming, and in the dream, I was in a different location that I had never been in before. And it was some sort of spiritual, I don't know if it was like a temple or what it was, but in the dream, I had to use the bathroom. So I got up to use the bathroom, and then I'm like, excuse me, like, and mind you, I'm in the dream when I'm saying, I'm like, excuse me, can you tell me which way the restroom is? So when I did that, I was like, in real life, standing up, trying to find the restroom. So then it's, you know where the bathroom is at, but she pointed me in the right direction. I ended up going to use the bathroom. But all this took place, I was really in the dream state, but she was able to tell me the next day, like, what the hell's wrong with you? But that happened while I was communicating in the physical realm, but my mind was literally in the dream state and kind of navigating through both realms simultaneously. So that's a real thing that I just experienced like maybe last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a similar experience, but that was too spooky. Like I could literally, when I got out the bed in the middle of the night, like the whole room was lit up with this red light, and when I looked down, it was my heart glowing.
Oh wow!
I could see, and I couldn't see my muscles. All I could see is my rib cage and my heart.
That's crazy.
And I was like, "Damn, did I die?"
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, it's another form of shedding yourself. You probably went through resurrection mode. It was an upgrade.
That's exactly what it was. So it's like the red light go off when you win the prize.
That's crazy. That's a fact. And I had a similar experience. This happened to me by about 6 years ago. I seen like 3 entities. I told somebody this same story. They was like, well, that's the 3 magi or whatever. But it was 3 entities in the corner of the room. Because you know the thing about apparitions, they usually, you know, they go in corners. And I felt like an luminescent energy over my chest. And then ever since then, like I've had the propensity to like further, you know, information and knowledge and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the only experience I ever had. I haven't really had no deep encounters with, you know, with apparitions from different dimensional planes or anything like that.
Look, you know why you always see the apparition in the corner?
Why?
The same way you would have a spin on the Earth dome touching the ground, you would have an energy vortex there. So it's like a wind turbine.
Okay.
Because of the corners is circulating energy that should be in a circular fashion, so that it accumulate in the corners. It's an accumulation of energy there, and it's easier for them to show themselves in that energy vortex than it is to show it to you in an open area. And this is why all of the shamans used to always meditate in caves by a firelight.
Yeah,
especially the Hayoka.
Now that's dope. Now, how does, because I know one of y'all, if not both of y'all, probably can take this further. But how much or how significant is the angle? Because when you talk about a corner, you're talking about the corner is always at an angle. Then you talk about the 90-degree angle, right? And then when you take that and you transition or transmute that word angle and angel, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that all kind of tie into this 90-degree angle thing?
I think it kind of is one of those things where you can trap that light or trap the apparition to where it can materialize in physical form. Because most people, when they see apparitions or ghosts or whatever, they see them in corners. I seen I'll take that lie back. I used to work, I was a maintenance guy at a bakery. I seen an apparition. It was a lady that was living in the basement. That used to live in the basement way before. It's an old bakery that, you know, distributes the great majority of all the bread in the Midwest or whatever. But I had to get some parts and everything from the basement, and I seen her down there. And I wasn't the only one who seen her. It was a Mexican guy that seen her as well. Yep.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I've had several
sitting there in the corner chilling.
I like to tell it like this. This is the easier way to understand it. The angel of light comes in on an angle of light. The prism for light is a prison of life. So the angel that comes on the angle of light gets trapped through the prism and projected out as a single form entity. We still just talking about them hands off the sun in the end.
Right.
Yeah. So that 45-degree angle corner or 90-degree angle corner, depending on how your structure is, right? That's all to an energy accumulator. We just started using square room construction a couple thousand years ago. We used to build round huts and with no isolated rooms. The whole family used to live in a hut, right? Because the hut was made in a circular fashion and we didn't have regimented squared off city blocks. We had concentric circles to downtown, from uptown to downtown, and those concentric circles is how we maintain energetic balance. Right now, what you're seeing is all military regimented, right? So that the military can more easily control the grid in a squared off fashion, using Masonic symbolism as the code to tell you that you're still in a state of war.
And that's also one of those things you can just tell by, you know, who's patriarchal and who's matriarchal just by the geography of the house. Like you said, that, you know, the geometrical circular shapes was one of those things where it's able to manipulate a form of geomancy, can manipulate those ley lines because it's another way to pull in energy. Square houses and everything that blocks energy.
There's a lot going
on. Think of a whirlpool. Think of a whirlpool spinning in a circle. This is what the rounded off buildings do to the energy field around it. Even the wind, when the wind blow into a square runs to a round building, it goes around it. And this can easily be proven with a fan and a box and a fan and a round tube.
Yep.
That's deep. Now, and we talking about energy and like the activation of energy. We spoke about that on our live Friday, right? The one that we had with Orisha Stone. So before we came on today, we were talking about a lot of different things that are happening in regards to energy. So I don't know if y'all seen part 1, but part 2 of that movie, The Old Guard, just came out, right? Very powerful movie, like the 1 and part 2. But before we came on live, we were talking about the super soldiers or warriors that are coming to the planet now, right? And then a lot of people are familiar with the Simeon Toko story. So in Old Guard, they're immortals and they can like literally heal themselves and come right back, you know, no matter what happens. And that's real life what Simeon Toko did. So when we spoke Friday, we spoke about the activation of the Haitian blood type, or the Haitian, I should say, people of descendant of Haiti, right? We were talking about the warrior spirit being activated. How does that activation of the Haitian warrior spirit tie into those beings that we know are present, and probably a lot more coming, that have the immortal, supernatural, real superhero powers and abilities?
They just more advanced versions of us, the ones that's coming. But you got, when you talk about the people of Haiti, we got to remember they warriors. They always been warriors. They didn't just start being warriors because they got invaded by France. They was warriors long before France ever came. They just didn't have no more wars to fight because we knew how to live in harmony and balance. They was warriors in the garden. They wasn't gardeners in a war. So when the war came to them, they energetically had the wherewithal of exactly what to do. Where a lot of us on the mainland, we was gardeners and we wasn't prepared for war. So we needed to call on that expertise from the Haitians and Jamaicans. You know, the old Mississippians was the guardian tribe of this land, which traced back to the Olmec, the Inca, the Maya, to the Peruvians, all the way around the Fertile Crescent of the Americas. You know, so the tribes, when you're talking about war energy, some people is genetically wired to flourish in a combat zone because they know exactly what to do because they fought so many wars over so many lifetimes. But some of us, we not prepared for it because a lot of the people that's on the planet right now are what we call newbies. They just only here for they got a book of life they got to live as part of their training of balance. Once they learn their balance, they got to go somewhere and be a whole star by themselves. But if they can't stand to be alone, how they gonna be a star by themselves without going supernova on us?
Woo! Listen, I got a spoken word piece called Supernova, man. Like that's dope that you say that, because what I was going to ask my next question, which is kind of nuts because I don't think this has come up between us yet, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, how does that tie into what this thing we call resurrection, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I know for a fact, people who reach certain spiritual levels of their journey, right, know different lifetimes or different lives experiences that they had from prior lifetimes. When you talk about like the Akashic records and all those things, how does that work when you talk about reincarnation for people who have a specific skill set or a specific ability in one life and then still sometimes bring some of that ashe with them into another life or all their lives? How does all that work?
You gotta break out of the gematria body, because the gematria body is how you confine yourself to a box. So this is when you tap into the epikinetic body, where you pull information out of the subconscious mind and the neocortex. So that's when you pull out information for the Akashic records. So this is what we're talking about as far as like the scroll of all. Have you ever heard of an extruder machine?
I have, but I'm not real familiar with it.
When you look at, you know, everything as far as like westernized technology by way of the doctrine of signatures, is really an emulation of who we are genetically. When you look at an extruder machine, because I used to be in engineering, you got different chamber systems that's on the extruder. You got, some of them have 5 chambers, some of them have 6 chambers, but they're really talking about the endocrine system. It's really talking about the endocrine system and how it activates. And at the head of the extruder, you have a transducer. And that transducer is how you transduce the Kundalini activation into it is able to materialize in physical form. So everything that you're seeing as far as like upgrading and pulling out information from your neurological faculties is actually a form of engineering when it comes to westernized technology. It's another form of materialization, because when you look at an extruder machine, they also have a funnel at the top. The funnel is another way to pull in energy from the solar flares. Then it goes through the chambers, which is the chakra systems, going through the 33rd vertebrae. Then once it gets to the head of the transducer, which is the neuroendocrine transducer, that's when you're able to manifest a part in physical reality, as far as like when it goes through a mode. Same thing happens when you're talking about factories, the same thing.
So, you know, when you born, and you ever see these children, they be 3 years old, be masters at the piano, be master mathematicians, be understanding life problems better than grown folks. Them past life memories activated in this life. The problem is that we've been taught to give toxic environments to the children It's the same as poisoning the mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know you're doing it because you grew up in a toxic environment.
Mm.
The children are the only ones can tell you that ain't normal.
Right.
Because they coming in with these past life memories, they're looking at why y'all humans doing this dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got
That's real,
newborn babies now looking around like y'all done brought me back to this shit.
Yes. Yeah, that's real for
And they
real
looking
too, though.
around like, what in the world? Why is all these lights in the birth room? It's supposed to be ambient lit. It's not supposed to be brighter than the sun. What is y'all doing? Y'all trying to do something to me? Babies is coming in knowing that it's not normal for them to have them bright ass lights on them when they come in.
Yes.
Having that being in black flasher effect on their memories.
Yep.
But going back to the question, when you was asking like what do they have to do with past life memories? The past life memories can be brought to the forefront if you can understand what the child loved the most and you expose them to it. It'll make them remember how to perform a function. It's called a latent talent or innate talent. It's latent when it's not used. It's innate when it's becoming used. You didn't know it was there.
Yes.
Right. So once this talent is being expressed, they've tapped into the past life recall. But they made the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger called Total Recall. Total Recall is when you can remember multiple past lives. You remember it all. So you hear me on here telling people, I'm like, man, I don't know what these people doing. That's just some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And they do it on the video game Assassin's Creed. You can go through different lifetimes that's based on historical analysis, and you can go in different time periods and revitalize and manipulate every situation in history.
And what's deep about that is that if you think about it too, when I think it was you, Big Chief, that spoke about the toxic environments, that's real because, you know, children aren't being taught or not being, I should say, nurtured and cultivated in regards to our intuition or imagination, because the imagination that's the real, you know what I'm saying, vessel. Like that's the vehicle, that's the, you know, that's the craft that can take you through the universe, right? But we're taught or we're told not to think that way, not to speak to that imaginary friend, not to, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like a governor when you rent a car or, for example, a truck, a U-Haul, they put governors on them where you can't go past like 80, 70, 80 miles an hour or whatever. I feel like we're putting governors on our children's minds or imaginations by not allowing them to express it in the way in which they naturally know how to do.
A lot of us, when they tell you they got an imaginary friend, it ain't necessarily an imagination.
Yeah.
It can be a different part of the light spectrum. They could be talking to a whole person.
Yes.
That's in a different light spectrum than we are. But the baby being untainted and unadulterated can see it.
Yes.
Right? There's a little nerve that go through the brain at birth that tie all your psychic senses together. And the goal is to make you not use your psychic faculty until it atrophies and dissolves before you solidified it. Right. So they know what they're doing with the 6-year-old arrested development program. The Catholic Church say you give me your child for 7 years, and I'll show you the man in 50.
Yeah. Because that first cycle, that first 7, you know, it's all in cycles of 7. And those first 7 are like the most impressionable. Those are the most crucial. Like those are by far, I feel like, the most crucial because those are the ones that are most moldable. But then once they're molded, it's like those habits become extremely difficult to unlearn or relearn. You know what I'm saying? Whenever it's been molded into whatever that miseducation or that indoctrination, you know what I'm saying, that was put into us within those first 7 years.
And one of the best movies to show you that it extrapolates that is the movie with Robin Williams, with the movie called Hook. Where he was so subjected to the lifestyle of the material world and his job that he lost his light. He didn't believe that he had those metaphysical powers of levitation until he was able to believe it again. He had to believe in himself in order to tap into that energy. Another movie that came out last summer called Ifs. And the S were the imaginary friends of those. They were trying to connect with the adult version of their. It was like an imaginary friend, but they were trying to connect with the adults that they was, you know, working in tandem with during the time when they was a childhood.
Was the cast of that movie black?
No.
No, okay, because I thought I saw something like that too, but it was I can't remember what the name of that one was though. But hell, I think we saw that in real life with Michael Jackson though. Think about Mike, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. He even shows you in the movie Moonwalker on how to activate the Merkaba. Because when you look at the photo of the movie, the cover of it, it shows the color spectrum and shows him in the movie turning into a UFO, and he takes flight. And the only way he could do that, it was tapping back into his inner child.
Right.
Because when I forgot what ontological artifact that is also associated. It looks like an entity. It's an entity that looks like Michael Jackson, and he was also a protector of children. I forgot what the entity was called, but I think go ahead.
No, I was gonna say
that's his Egyptian. That's his Egyptian mirror.
Yeah, because a couple of his videos he like, especially Remember the Time was one where he went in with that one. But what you're talking about, I think I remember another video with him doing that too. So maybe that video was to that movie. Maybe that's part of the soundtrack or something.
That's all he was doing. He was activating his Merkaba by tapping into his inner child.
That's deep. So I got a question from the tribe. Supreme Elohim, shout out to Supreme Elohim, wants to know what's the best way or the best meditation to access the Akashic records.
I wouldn't prescribe a particular meditation. The Akashic records only open up to those who's ready to receive the information. You got to look at what you fear and overcome your fears, and the Akashic record gonna start reading itself to you. You remember Malachi wrote that it's gonna come a time where we gonna all have our own tutors that's gonna be projected from inside of us. That's your higher self counseling your three-dimensional ego self. First, you got to purify the ego. Purification of the ego is getting rid of all of the BS that people said about you that you never questioned. Is the key part, but you accepted it as being true about you without questioning it. Soon as you start to question, you're like, man, I don't feel like that. That ain't how I feel. Why do I think that? My mind don't even work like that. So once you go through that process, you purifying the ego, which makes it easier for your higher self to communicate with you. And this opens up the faculty that allows the Akashic records to read themselves to you. You don't have to read them. You just have to prepare the vessel for you to get the information because it's already available. We're talking about holographic reality. All of the information in the whole of the hologram is in each of the fractals of the hologram. You can take one part of the hologram and you can study it and know everything about the hologram. It's the same thing. But if you don't never study none of the fractals, you won't never understand the hologram. The principle of the Akashic record is the information that you see Neo and Trinity reading on the computer screen in the Matrix. That's just the Akashic records. And it's telling you what's going on in the current moment, but it can also tell you what happened if you rewind it or fast forward it to know what's going to happen. It's how people tap into their psychic abilities. They tap into the Akashic record because the program is the same, but the programmer is different.
Right.
And another way to do that is the break free from the trauma. Because once you break free from the trauma, you step away from the fear because everything that you want in this life is on the other side of fear. So where you step out the box. As I was telling you guys before, the box in itself is we call the Metatronic overlay. It's a representation of another way to confine energy. So like I said, when you step outside that trauma, the trauma is another way to keep you inside that loop. The fear. Right. Everything as far as fear is associated with draconian law. Draconian law is associated with the archons of the demiurge. They want to keep you confined to the system, and your emotional energy is a sustenance to the system. So once you break free from the trauma and the fear, that's when you tap into, you have the ability to tap into those Akashic records.
That's facts. And they say, I love this quote, but if you want to know the truth, talk to a 5-year-old or 85-year-old because you're going to get the truth because neither one of them ain't going to have no filter. They're going to tell you what it is, what it was, and what it's going to be. And that's real because it's like.
The problem today is people keep trying to shut the babies up.
Yes.
Yep.
But that's what I'm saying. And that goes back to the indoctrination and the toxic environments, because a lot of even our parents or elders or aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever, have all been a product of the environment. So it's like it's a form of toxicity that's been passed down, I feel like subconsciously or subliminally, where it's not even intentional. It's just being literally a product of our environment. So it takes for those of us who can come and be disruptors, you know what I mean, to kind of like, nah, the hell with that. Let that child do this, or you know what I'm saying? Like I remember one of the calls we was on, right? I think I forgot what it was, but you went in because you were saying leave them babies alone. Like let them babies do what they do in regards to their natural connection to the creator. You know what I mean? Because they're doing what they're supposed to do, what they were sent here to do. And that's facts.
That's why everybody want us to follow the paradigm. We think that life consists of get a job, work for 50 years, then die. That's a sorry ass life, to ask me.
That's a death style, not a lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
And it's all based on inversion. That's how you know the God of this world is actually the devil. A motherfucker will tell you, hey, I make $100,000 a year, and I work at a tobacco factory.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know. And then they out their mouth, they be like, won't he do it? God gave me this job. God got me this job. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know you live in an inverted system.
That's facts.
They never realized that the last time that God gave somebody a job, or Job, all he did was get tortured by the devil.
That was deep. I saw you break that down on another show. I can't remember whose channel you was on, but that was dope. Can you kind of go into that, Big Chief, because that was dope. Like, because that's one of the only books I ever read in the Bible, which is nuts. That's one of the only ones I ever read. But I remember that story, and then when you broke it down as to what you just shared a snippet of, can you kind of tap into how that's significant with the Job story?
I got a verse in the song that say, "Mama told me, son, don't make deals with the devil. But the truth be told, God ain't no better. Look how he played Job when he set him up. If that was a nigga on the block, we'd have wet him up. Don't duck when the truth is finally thrown your way. Now you calling me a sinner for the words that I say." The whole point with Job minding his business, going about his life with his family. The sons of God came, according to the text, to prostrate before the Lord. That's what they tell you in the first chapter of Job. When they got there, they say the devil came with them. And God asked the devil, "What you been up to?" The devil said, "I've been walking around to and fro, up and down in the earth, thinking who I may devour." And what? You need somebody to devour? Hey, you ever thought about Job? Oh, you got a shield of protection around Job. Yeah, I ain't got no shield of protection around Job. You do anything you want to do to Job as long as you don't kill him. And the devil was like, "You playing." God was like, "Try me. I ain't never lied to you before. You the only one be running around telling lies. Go get Job. I'm not going to get, as long as you don't kill him, I won't interfere." God set Job up from the word go. The devil didn't even ask for Job. He wasn't even thinking about Job. He was just, as he say, mosey on about, roaming to and fro, back and forth, up and down the earth. And then God sicked the devil on Job. Then Job went through all of them plagues and pestilence and suffering and struggles. But what happened at the end? Everything he lost, he got back tenfold. Right? It's the story of Nebuchadnezzar. We don't never relate the two stories.
Now, we can go that we got to connect that to the Matrix too. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt, but you remember the ship was called the Nebuchadnezzar.
Right. So the Nebuchadnezzar connection to the book of Job, you gotta remember, Nebuchadnezzar turned into a beast of the field. And then woke up one day and was like, "Wait a minute, I'm a damn king. What am I doing out here with all of these animals, these savages, these unkempt and untamed, eating this grass?" And then he went back and became the king. That's the same thing with Job. It's the same story. It's just told from a different angle. All of the Bible stories is told the same story told from a different perspective, right? It's supposed to be 88 books, right? It's 64 in the King James Version, right? And in these 88 books, you're supposed to have 88 different perceptions of how people see God in reality. It was an ancient play that was turned into a religion in order to confuse the masses about their innate divinity. As long as you're looking outside and you for God, you'll never find the God within. I'll be Job till he give up on the God within, and that's the only way that the external world can overtake you.
That's deep. That reminded me of damn, what was that quote? You had said it. I think it might have been the first or second time I interviewed you, Bdell, but you were saying something about God, how was it? I think when you find God on the inside, you ain't got to worry about going to the church, because the church, something's how you broke down, like pretty much the temple is inside, not outside at the church home or whatever. I can't remember the quote, but it was a dope quote. But that reminded me, like when Big Chief said that brought back that quote about that, because I be talking to people about that all the time. Like I'm in my temple, like I'm in my spiritual home. It's right here in this room where I'm at, and there's a few other shrines around the house too. But every time I go to one of my places, whether it's my ancestral shrine, whether it's the shrine for the deities, or wherever I'm going, that is my church, because ultimately I feel like I'm in the church is within this body, this physical meat suit. And the essence of God is when I feel like the spirit, my energy, my ori, my mind's eye, whatever you want to call it, connects back to the universe, whether it's through prayer, meditation, veneration, whatever the case may be. That's a true, I feel like, godly energy exchange, right? So with that, how does that tie into when you have like a warrior spirit, or you have people who have, like you said, the experiences from previous lifetimes, like those from Haiti, who activated that that energy through the 1804 revolution? And then we see clearly now what just took place in Brooklyn. We saw a sign of that, in real time. Like literally, what, last week I think it was, when that
You
happened.
take one of us back, you're taking all of us back. But remember, the island is calling the children of Haiti back home. They can only resist, the world can only resist that call for so long. All of the foreigners gonna get kicked out of Haiti so Haiti can rebuild itself. Right? So when you seen all of them people come out there and say, if you take some of us, you're gonna take us all, they wasn't playing. They was all prepared to go if one of them was gonna leave.
And
the island calling them back.
How many people you think was out there? Because with the video footage I saw, like, it might have been thousands of people out there.
Man, I didn't even know it was that many Haitians in one community in America anywhere.
I didn't either. But boy, they came up, they showed out. Boy, they let it be known. I did not know that. The closest,
That was in Chicago.
New York, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
The closest I would have said, Big Chief, is Little Haiti. I know there's a lot down there in Little Haiti and Miami, but I didn't expect to see that in Brooklyn. That was in Brooklyn, New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, when they come up here, Jamaicans, Haitians, and Dominicans love New York.
Yeah, that's facts.
New York is their home away from home, and that's the ones that stop in Little Haiti and Florida. But New York is their home away from home.
Puerto Ricans too.
Yeah, this is where we used to gather. Them are ancient metropolis. All of the tribes always been here, always did the same thing we doing today. We just dismiss it as being modern. Right? But Haiti, they went to New York for one reason. It's the Empire State. That means it's the headquarters of the empire. If you're going to overthrow the French, right, and the French gave birth to the Dutch and the Portuguese, and the Dutch and the Portuguese settled New Amsterdam before they surrendered it to the Crown of England, and it became New Yorkshire, right? You going to the source. You're not finna be... Why would I sit here and fight on the periphery when I can penetrate to the heart of the matter and just get to the point? Weigh your stuff. We don't think strategically. When we start teaching each other how to think strategy and military process and the operating procedures of armed conflict, when we start teaching that, that's when we become the real problem. Because we able to see stuff like, why is it this many people from Haiti in this one town? Where did they come from? Trace them back. This is what you're going to find out. Airplanes leave Haiti, land in Canada, then right across from New York. They land from Jamaica right across from New York in Canada, and then they come across the border into New York. Then they populate in the capital city of the new empire. right? They trying to get to the heart of the matter. They trying to get to the arm that hold the dirty hand. They want the head. They don't want the arm. They just trying to find the arm so they can find out where the head at. You know, in Florida, they just looking at the foot. In New York, they looking at the hand. So we got them. We standing on their feet. We got one of their hands subdued. Right? Where is the head? Just as long as you know what foot is it, left foot, right foot, and you know what arm it is, right foot, right arm, left arm, you can find the head at that point. It's all it's spiritual warfare, but it's being played out as migrations of people across the planet. It's the moving of chess pieces, but the chess pieces ain't being moved by people. It's being moved by the energy of the universe. And the universe is on both sides of the war. Oh God, you devil. George Burns, reference point.
Yes, sir.
And eventually I'll start coming after us.
Listen, they already, I tell you what.
They day with coming after us is over. If they come after us again, it's not gonna be the same, because the spell, the 200-year conjure that kept us losing, that's over with. The last thing they want to do is come after us. That's why they started picking on Mexican immigrants, Dominican immigrants, Colombian immigrants. They probably, all of these undocumented. That's because that's what you call passive aggressive assault. They can't slap us in the face, so they slap our homeboys.
Yeah,
because they know our homeboys ain't gonna fight back like us.
Right.
But they already know that we know that they can't attack us like that. So we walking around, we land dancing about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We putting boots on the ground, asking where the fan at for me to kick this shit in it.
That wouldn't be doing it. I gotta grab my Shango axe. But that's real though. And let me ask y'all this, because I know this is something that I've seen it, I've done it multiple times, but energy is so real and so profound. There's been times, and I'll just use the gym for example. I'm in the gym and somebody will do some bullshit, and the inner one of them voices that be in there be like, man, not cave that mother face in. But then the voice of reason be like, man, chill. It ain't that. But the voices will go back and forth internally. But one of them voices be like, man, fuck that. Fuck all that. I will cave this motherfucker's face in, right? That voice, like for real. And I'll look at the person like directly in the mirror and look at them, won't say a word. And I promise on God, sometimes they'll leave. Sometimes they'll go to a whole nother section or whatever, all by the energy that you project or that you put out there. So how does that work for those who know that they can do it, but might not know how, when, or why to do it? Because energy is a real thing.
You got to set an intention, because the intention in itself is going to leave an energetic imprint in that atmosphere. They're going to be able to, see it and feel that energy. There's different ways to look at it, but energy exchange is very real. You can it's kind of like one of those things where, from a negative standpoint, you ever be thinking about somebody sometimes and then they pop up. It's another form of telepathy.
Oh, they'll text you, yeah.
It's another form of telepathy, but you can only activate it when you're in a state of aggression.
Yeah.
This is kind of like one of those things. Some people don't really tap into their spirit, their true spiritual powers until they're going through a detrimental process.
Yeah, adversity or something like that. Yeah, yeah, that's real.
When certain ones of us make our mind up that we ain't taking no crap, everybody around you that come around you, they walk a lot softer. You haven't said a word yet. But when you're done with the BS, you project a frequency that say, you can try a whole lot of people, but don't try this one. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Look, when I was in Chicago, I'd had dudes run up on me with a pistol in their hand, and I just look at them. They'd be like, oh, I thought you was somebody else. Right? And it don't be because I'm 9 feet tall or nothing. It be because I'm with the shits.
Yeah.
I'm from the fuck around and find out generation.
I want to say it, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Look, I'm with the smoke.
Yes, sir.
Only reason why I wasn't worse is because of my mama. If it wasn't for my mama, it'd be a whole bunch of people that they'd be looking for right now.
Oh wow.
Hey, look, we could talk today because we ain't yeah, but that's real, man, because like for real, that's a real thing. I had a similar situation before where you know, somebody had the ratchet or whatever, and they were more scared than I was because I honestly thought it was fake, like to be real. But then when I saw them started shaking, then I knew it was real. So I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? I get it. I see where this is going. But at the same time, I feel like when you have that, and I don't know, I think somebody might have said it in the chat or maybe it came up, but when you have that mentality that you're not afraid of death, that's a whole nother different dynamic now of the type of being and energy you're rocking with, because most people, that's their number one tactic is to try to fear you or make you scared, you know what I'm saying, of dying. But then when you run across somebody like, motherfucker, I ain't scared to die, and they mean that, it's a whole nother, that's a whole nother shift. No, serious, I'm serious too. That's a whole nother shift in the whole entire atmosphere, because I've been in situations like that. And like Big Chief said, you fuck around and find out if you want to, but that's because that's a different energy now. That's not this same energy that's talking on a daily basis. That's a totally different foreign energy. I don't know where it come from, but I know it come from a place where, bitch, I'm gonna give you everything you want and then some. And I'm gonna give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a goddamn hors d'oeuvre too, if you play around and fuck around and find out. And there's some people like that. Like, I seen a dude I'll never forget. I was in line going to the comedy show, and I promise you on everything I love, this brother couldn't have been no more than 5'3". But when I tell you his energy spoke of, bitch, fuck around and find out if you want to, I'm like, man, go ahead and get that, bro. Like, I'm not messing with that dude. I don't have time for that. Like, he really looked like he would anybody come up with, like, yeah, you'll get there. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead and get that, because certain people, you just don't mess with certain people. It don't matter what size they are to me. When that energy like that,
that's also your part of your spiritual protection too. Cause I was in Chicago, and the guy was high on what they call Fat Daddy, Wicked. It's PCP, right? Mint leaf, and he didn't have no off switch to his aggression, and he was pushing up on everybody. And the bar we was at is on 51st between May and Aberdeen. And he came over there with that BS with me. I looked him dead in his eyes. I said, I know what you own. I'm not even gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to your drugs. Back down or we gonna have a problem. And he was looking at me, and then his brain started working. And he left me alone. And he was on his way out, wired up on PCP, telling people, stay away from him, man. He crazy.
Hey, you gotta keep that crazy though. You know why? Because like I said, spirituality is not all about love and light. You got to keep that dark energy, because that dark energy is a protectorate. When you look at, you know, certain insects in the ecology, you ever seen a bombarder beetle? Anytime
those are like real bright ones that got the big hook in the front, and they like a bright, almost like patent leather, like the patent leather J's color black. You talking about that one?
Yeah, but
that's a Hercules. That's a Hercules beetle you talk about. They fight them over in Thailand.
I've seen those before.
Bombarder beetles, they look like bees a little bit, but they emit a pheromone, and it's basically extracting a certain energy. It's a protectorate to keep other, you know, outside forces from attacking it. So the same thing is with us. When you turn on that energy, you give people that look, it's like, hey, fuck around and found out. So it's one of those things. So you got to keep that dark energy.
Yeah.
Adrenaline is angel repellent.
Yes, sir.
If angelic being around you and you go into that high adrenaline state of fight or flight, they out of there.
Yeah.
The human being in that fight or flight is the most dangerous animal on the planet.
Yeah, that's real. And you know what's deep about that? I just watched this. Well, it kind of was watching me, but there was a I think it's on Netflix. It's a documentary about this white lady that I think her name is like Ocean something, but she be swimming with sharks. Like I'm talking about, like she was like really swimming with like great whites and tiger sharks and all kind of shit. But she was saying, I guess with her name being Ocean, she was born with some sort of oceanic, I guess, gift of like telepathy or intuitiveness in regards to what she does as a marine biologist or whatever her title is. But she was able to swim with, like, I'm talking about great whites, tigers, all of the major sharks. She was able to swim with them. I'm talking about and like grab them and touch them and everything. But she was talking about like, yo, I figured out that when you have a calm demeanor and you don't present any threat or you're not, you know, scared or nervous, I can communicate with them. I feel like I'm able to talk to them like telepathically through telepathy or through, you know, intuitive communication. But you can see it in the documentary, like she really doing this in real. I'm like, yo, that lady got some balls the size of 2 basketballs, like for real, because I'm sitting there like, I'm serious too. I'm like, yo,
Beach
I'm
balls.
not messing with them sharks like that. Not even
Listen,
with the yapper.
I love fish in fresh water. I don't want to be in the middle of nowhere and it's a fish bigger than my boat. Matter of fact, a fish big enough to swallow my boat. Even if he ain't thinking about me. The fact that he that big and I'm trespassing on his terrain, whatever I get, I got coming. I can't be. Ain't no such thing as a shark attack. That's self-defense for the shark. He got teeth, make my dog teeth look like like baby teeth.
Right.
No, I'm not. That's not my lane.
Like Tic Tacs.
Yeah, that's not my lane.
Yeah.
Now in Lake Michigan, they got some sturgeons in there that might be 12 feet. I can deal with that. But out in that ocean where you got a fish the size of a skyscraper, a blue whale.
Right.
I don't want it. I don't want none of it.
That's not my lane.
Man, listen.
Hey, you know what's crazy about that? They just came out with the movie Jurassic Park Genesis, and they said that the vast majority of the planet was dying from heart disease, about 40% of humanity. And they went to a different island to get a DNA extraction from an animal or dinosaur called the Cordosaurus. And Quetzalcoatl is also associated with Tahuti or Thoth, Hermes, associated with the heart chakra. So that's all I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things where when you turn on the frequency of love, it's going to amplify your magnetic field to where you're able to harmonize with nature. But if you're on a pure frequency, that's when, you know, here come the sharks. They can read that parasitical energy and they're going to attack your ass every time.
That's a real thing too, because I remember a story. I'll never forget this one because I was proud. I definitely feel like I was being guided or led by spirit. But I was at a comedy show. This was years ago, and it was a real tight venue. And this brother had bumped into me, and like he was walking, trying to get through the rows of chairs, and he bumped into me and my old lady at the time. And he kind of had a look on his face, like, yeah, I did it, and what? And so I kind of like, nah, we ain't gonna do this. So I stood up. And I went to holler at him, but it was the dopest thing ever because in the process of me standing up to leave my chair to go holler at him, I went and I talked to him and I just seen him. And then my spirit, or I feel like energy of love came over me and was like, yo, just talk to this brother. Like you don't got to go there with it. Talk to him. And so I talked to him and I chopped it up with him pretty much like, bro, like that was disrespectful. You didn't have to do that, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have disrespected your old lady, you and your old lady like that. You know what I mean? I would at least, you know, give you a head nod and be like, my bad, bro, da-da-da. But long story short, I could tell by the way I came at him, he dropped where the energy he was on and he listened. And we both, at the end of the conversation, we dapped it up, hugged it out, and kept it pushing. And then after the show was over, we even spoke and chopped it up again to where my old lady was talking to his old lady, me and him was chopping up. But that was a time where, like you said, with the love prevailed and it really did take over and it set the tone and brought the energy from a low frequency to what I felt like a very high frequency because we went from a destructive energy to a constructive energy in a matter of a moment. You know what I mean? I was like, that was dope. And I felt so much better about myself. Like I ain't, you know, act the fool and cut up and mess up a good night. And, you know what I'm saying? It was just dope. So I agree with you on that when you say that the love is a very powerful force too.
You know, a lot of heart disease is from a closed heart chakra. You got to look at the chakras as gateways of energy. Right. The closed chakra is not on what they call a reverse spin.
Mm-hmm.
The open chakra is in its proper spin, right? So when you start closing that energy field down, you don't have access to reach the reasoning that comes with being infused with love. This is why we poorly taught in conflict resolution, because most of our conflict resolution end when somebody is 6 feet deep. Whereas as people, we like when I be in the grocery store, I'm already 6'3", 260 pounds. So, and I live around a bunch of pale faces, and they be intimidated by the big black man anyway. And when they bump into me or something in the aisle and they be like, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry," I be like, "We all got to shop here." And that breaks the ice every time.
Yes.
Every time. And then they go from being terrified, then they start smiling, and they be more cordial. But a lot of us don't have conflict resolution skills. And a lot of the people we beefing with, we only beefing with them because we never had a conversation.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Sometimes as soon as you have a conversation, you realize, dang, man, dude, pretty smooth dude, man. I found this out. I had a homeboy named Juan Y. He passed a few years ago, rest in peace. But we was mortal enemies in the streets, right? Not because I knew him and I didn't like him and he knew me, because our homeboys was scrapping. I'm riding with mine till the wheels fall off. He riding with his till the wheels fall off. Now we on neutral territory. We've become adults now, and we having these conversations. And we like, man, you know, if we'd had these conversations back then, we would have never been beefing.
Yeah.
We would have never had no issue with each other. We only because we didn't know each other, we assumed that each other was the problem.
Yeah.
Right. So that's real critical to know that a lot of time you're not gonna have a conflict with somebody once you have a conversation with them. Conversation change everything, especially when you don't come in arrogant, cocky, and boastful and overbearing. You come in with the same respect you want.
Yep.
And
that
make people more respectable towards you, and it make them accept you on a different level. Right. So it's so many of us that be unaware of that. And I be telling these young guys, I say, if you think you beefing with a dude, pull him to the side, sit down and have a conversation with him. You'll find out y'all really ain't beefing. It's some he said, she said at the root 8 out of 10 times.
Yes.
Normally, your real beef is when you fall out with a close friend about some twisted stuff they did to you or your family that you just can't let go. Right? But other than that, like the dude on the other side of town don't know you from Iraq and Iraq. He with his guys, you with your guys. Y'all don't really got a problem with each other. Y'all just with each other's ops.
Facts.
You know, and a lot of people get drawn into that scenario and lose their life for some foolishness.
That's facts.
Right. Energy transfer is real. That's why I'm very meticulous about who I hang out with. If I know you're doing all types of stuff, you got all types of demons on you, your demons are gonna become my demons because now I'm associated with you.
That's facts.
There was a girl, this is why, you know, if you ever pay attention, you know, a lot of women that was, you know, went and got their college degrees and all this other stuff, they still mess with street dudes. I mean, they might just, you know, that might fit, you know, be the best fit for them, but, you know, over the course of time, it can be very detrimental, you know what I'm saying, energy transfer. It was a young girl, she got killed in my city because she was associated with a guy like that.
Yeah, it's a real thing, man. Even to the point where animals, like just like go back to the shark story, but I noticed, and Big Chief, I'm sure you probably can relate to this too. But even with dogs, right? Like I remember, like my dog before the one I got now, he had that bishop, like he had that bishop from Juice energy, and it's crazy because I remember when I named him Nino. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna name him. Then when I seen him and I met him, I gotta call him Nino Brown because his color, he was Brindle Brown, but I wanted to name him Bishop from Pop from Juice. So it was like, damn, man, Nino Brown just fit better. It just go better. I'm like, you know, nah, the hell with that. His middle name is gonna be Bishop. His name is Nino Bishop Brown, right? But boy, when I tell you he had that energy for real, like it was to the point it used to frustrate me because he wanted all the smoke. I don't care if it was a gerbil or an elephant. He wanted all the smoke at every time, anytime. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. It's not that serious. But I feel like it was in the name. It was in the name. He really was. It was in the name, but I had that same kind of rah-rah energy about me too. So I feel like in hindsight now, I feel like really it was like my energy was kind of like, I feel like kind of like protruding over and feeding into him, pouring into him. So not only was it the namesake, but it was the energy that I was on back then too, that he was picking up on. So it was like he really was on that rah-rah, like, you know, really wanting to get it, you know, get it cracking shit. So it was like, but when you change the elements and you change, or better yet, let's just go back to this. When you transmute the elements of not just nature, but the elements of the universe, like when you transmute, you know, we talk about the articles or the elements of gold. We talked about the transformation of gold, immortality, and all that stuff Friday. But I feel like that's a real thing that is going to be received whichever way you give it, whether you transmute in the feelings or the elements of love, or if you transmuting the feelings of the element of you can get all this smoke, F around and find out. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like there has to be a happy medium. What is the happy medium for us now in the way that we have to navigate, you know, through the space that we're in with these days and times?
0 point energy. Just like Rod told me, use your emotions as a navigation system and be balanced. So like I said, it's either you're going to be on that light energy or you're going to be on the fuck around and find out. But you got to have both. You got to have both, because it's going to come a point in time when you're speaking so much truth, a lot of people are going to start to attack you because you're starting to manipulate their reality. So that's why I said you got to keep both those energies. There's a such thing as a righteous kill.
I said, that's all I got to say about that one.
So we ain't gonna dive into that. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it pushing.
On some real talk, you got to know what stuff is worth the drama.
Yes, that's facts.
When you get ready to be confronted with a situation, whatever, if you understand, oh, that's not worth me fucking you up about. So I'm not gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna ignore you and go about my business.
Yeah.
But it's some stuff that people do. Oh, I'm gonna get you. It don't matter if I have to chase you to the end of the earth or the end of time. I'm gonna get you. Right? And then you gotta know the difference in the two, because you have a spectrum between them. Right? Some people, you don't have to do nothing to them, because you can tell by the way they moving. He getting chased by karma. She gonna catch him. He can't escape her. As soon as she catch him, she gonna give him everything he owe.
Yes, sir.
With extra credit, with extra emphasis, with an exclamation point on the end of everything she give him. She gonna make sure that you know it's certain stuff you violate the code. You go. My mama one taught me this. She say you don't have to do something to everybody that do something to you.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta let a person live their life, and life gonna do something to them that you can't. I thought my mama was out of her mind. I've seen some of the people that I had issues with 25 years later. And I swore when I was 25 years earlier, it was on site. Now on site, I can't do nothing to them. Life done did some stuff to them that I couldn't do. I could kill him and not do was worse what life did to him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to know the spectrum, right? That comes with being a good strategist. Knowing which wars to fight and which war not. Every war not a good war. Even if you win every war, so all wars not good wars. There's something called a punic victory. Right? Where you fight one war, but you deplete yourself so much you're not ready for the next one because it's right around the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
real.
Another thing, though. You know, that, like you said, there's no reason to address everybody as far as haters and, you know, onlookers and gossipers. There's no reason to do it. There's a reason why they obsess about your life, and that's embarrassing enough right there. So you ain't even gotta put no hands on them. You ain't even gotta take it that far.
Yeah. Nah, because life is gonna life, and that's the thing. Like, and that is so real and so spot on, man. Because that's the thing about life. The pendulum has to swing. It's gonna swing left and right. It's gonna swing north and south, but it got to swing, right? So when you messing around like that and you're dealing with the Lady K, you know, I look at it like this. No matter what, at some time, some way, and someday, you're going to be dancing with Lady K. She going to come and pull you up and tell you, come on, we got to dance. So it's a matter of, you know, I don't know if it's going to be today, tomorrow, next month, next year, but she going to come and take you out to dance. So whatever you're putting out into the universe or whatever relationships or environments or whatever that you exposed to, you're going to get that back. And boy, when she come, if I'm not mistaken, I think the laws of Ma'at say it comes back as a 7 times fold. Is that what it is? If I'm not people, when that karma comes back, it's like what, 7 times fold, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
It depends. Sometimes it come back in increments of 10. And sometimes it come back in multiples of 10. Right. It depends on the person you're dealing with in the spiritual ranking system.
Yep.
Right. If there's somebody on the same level, you're probably gonna get it back in increments of 7. If it's somebody on a higher spiritual level than you and you do dirt to them, that's coming back in increments of 10. If they're on a real high spiritual level, it come back in multiples of 10. That means tens, hundreds, and thousands.
Yep.
And you can't escape karma because she got on her side, she got Kali Ma, Mother Time, and she got her other sister on the other side called Mott, which is the scales of balance.
Yep.
And karma not gonna do nothing to you till Mott say, you got to balance this scale out. He did too much dirt.
Yep.
And when Mott tell Kali Ma, turn karma loose on you, it's a wrap. You can run away this lifetime, it's still gonna catch you the next one. That's why they give people triple life sentences now.
That's facts. That's big fact. And not only that, it also, I can't remember exactly how verbatim that Yoruba proverb goes, but it's like the sand you throw up blows back into the face of your children. So now not only can you face that trauma, that karma, but you can also kind of hereditarily give that karma to your children too. You know, depending on how deep you went with whatever BS you was on too. So it's a real thing for real.
Look, when they say vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I always tell them, make sure that you understand my mama was a vice lord. But I'm a GD.
My mama's a way out.
Man, saith the Lord. And I'm GD. I don't have to worry about it because whatever mama they ain't already stirred up in the ethers on the protection for my behalf, I'm going to straighten it out on my fatherland with the straight bump. Rod gonna bring the staff that's gonna whoop you into submission.
Hey, you asked for it. You asked for it. I feel like, so sometimes you get what you ask for. That's what they say. That's what they say. Okay, so the activation of the activation with that, clearly we see a lot with that. There's a lot activating, and we're seeing it, and we're also seeing. I feel like we're seeing some of the gods of war. What can we expect now? Because there's so much. I know there's stuff that's supposed to happen in September. So what can we expect between where we are now?
In the mortal words of Mr. T, hey.
Hey, well, on top of that, you're about to have the Gemini Uranus conjunction, and then sometime this week you're going to have Saturn in retrograde, which is a form of karmic retribution, karma.
Remember, Saturn is the gift giver.
Yep.
Retrograde means, for a gift giver, means the big payback.
Yep. The big payback.
Yes, sir.
Everybody thought they got away with doing you wrong.
Right.
Right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Because there's this thing called return to sender. And boy, when you return it, you threw that boomerang.
Elvis made that song, Return to Sender. What's unknown. Yeah, your BS don't fly over here.
No, sir.
I got spirits that walk with me that I don't even have to tell to protect me. They do it automatically because my mama set it up.
That's facts. You said something with that. Like you said something with that, man. And speaking of which, I'll never forget. This was probably about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went to get a massage, and it's kind of ironic that just popped in my head because the therapist was an elder. She was an elder lady, and she was a devout Christian, but she was of Haiti. She was of Haitian descent. And I remember when she first came to the room, she was like, "Okay, you want to go ahead and get comfortable?" Da, da, da. When she came back, she was like, "You brought a lot of spirits with you." She said, "You brought a lot of them with you." And I just looked at her. I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I hope they're good." She's like, "Yeah, they're good, but you brought a lot of them with you." But it was funny because I'm like, yeah, she picked up on it. She's not the only person who's told me that before, but I know she had the gift. First of all, she was Big Mama. She was an elder. Second of all, she was, of Haitian descent. So she had that, warrior Ashe energy within her as well. But she definitely picked up on, the supporting cast, man. And that's the thing. Like, we have ancestors and spirit guides that walk with us. And like you said, it depends on the level of your, path and your spiritual growth, your spiritual journey, because certain people, they got armies that walk with them. It ain't just a few. They got armies. Like, for real, for real.
Hey, you know somebody walking with you when you have a conversation with a blind person and say, "Who them people with you?"
Oh, wow.
And it ain't nobody there but you and the blind person.
Yep.
That's deep. That's
another one that demonstrates that, I got a movie reference for everything. Odd Thomas.
What is it again?
I think it's called Odd Thomas, but he's able to see when somebody's about to die because they have a lot of apparitions around them. They can see all the demons feeding off the fear and the sustenance off that individual right before they die. Yep.
Yeah, that's deep. I just met somebody literally recently that has a gift like that. Their gift, they're a seer, and part of their gift is they can see, that when people are reaching the end, which that's a gift that I know that's a challenge to have that one.
Those normally death doulas.
Yeah, what's that? What they
people that help other, kind of like birth doulas, how the birth doulas help bring the baby into the world. So a death doula, they help people transition, out of the body and back into the, land of the ancestors, the ancestral realm.
When we used to use death doulas, this is where your jazz funerals come from. They know if you graduated. If you graduated when you leave, meaning that you did everything you was intended and supposed to do while you was here, you leave with a ceremony. But if you didn't finish your work, right, you don't get a graduation ceremony. You get what's called a mourning ceremony. It's a sorrow ceremony. Well, they turned all of the ceremonies into sorrow ceremonies. Everybody don't go out in sorrow. Some people did something while they was on this earth that nobody but them could do. And they did it successfully. They're supposed to get a celebration going out. They're not supposed to get a mourning ceremony or a sorrow celebration because they don't have to come back and repeat it for another 20 times. They got it right. That's why we use death doulas. Because the death doulas see them on their way out, and it's a messenger that always let them know, "This is my child in whom well pleased." It's an ancestor. Go tell the people. Go tell the people. A lot of that stuff in your biblical writings is funerary. It's funerary text. The book of the coming forth by day is a funerary text.
Yes,
but it's telling you that when he come back, this is the process, right? In order to align your life after death. It ain't for them that's dying; they already gone. It's for when they come back. So they live it all in the writings, so that after the amnesia, pull the writings out, see what it say do. This is how we know about the Osirian resurrection. The oldest name still spoke on the earth: Ra, Osiris, and Set, and Isis.
Yeah.
Right. So when we understand that, you got to think that, well, why would their names live so long? And our ancestors tell us in the Ephod tradition that you die 2 times. Your first death is when you physically die. Your worst death is when they speak your name for the last time upon this planet.
Yeah. And some people going to deal with that, unfortunately. And you said something, or I should say it came up earlier, and then we switched gears. But when we were talking about like people with energy and how you have to have, the two polarities of, you know, the F around and find out energy, or, you know, that healing, soothing, you know, nurturing energy. For those who have dealt with any of the traditional spiritual systems or practices, and they've actually had any type of ceremonies or anything done, you know that there are some times when there has to be a sacrifice that takes place for certain rituals to reach a very high level, right? And in that happening, it came to me a while back that when those who are in the priestly order, they're different. And I kind of look at them how I look at people who are in the medical field, like surgeons and, you know, doctors that can save or, you know, do whatever for people's lives. Because when you're talking about these traditional healers, these Sangomas, these Ianifas, these Babalawos, these shamans, whatever you want to call them, they have two necessary skill sets that they have to tap into. And one is, unfortunately, they have to have the ability to take a life, right? But then also with that ability, you also have the ability to save a life. So now you really have to kind of tread on that line of zero, you know, what is it? Zero, what was it?
0 point energy.
0 point energy, because you can't sway too far on one side and do too much to take away something that wasn't supposed to be taken, and vice versa. You know, you can't do the opposite. So it's like, we have to really kind of tap into that parallel universe and then navigate on that straight and narrow path. Where do we see that happening, or do we see that happening collectively for us to get from where we are in this third dimensional experience and then to elevate into the fifth dimensional, you know, experience of ascension? How does that look?
It looked like a conscious community evolving from a bunch of unconscious people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Remember, when Elijah came in 1933, he was calling us blind, deaf, and dumb. Right. Then somewhere in the mid 70s, we started worrying about these new children coming in called crystal children, indigo children, Aquarian children, children of the new age, the children of the sun, the people of the sun. All these is coming in, but they're not coming in blind, deaf, and dumb. At least one faculty is fully intact. Right? At least one. Right. So now you have organizations like Mensa that's trying to capture all of the ones born with instant genius, and so that they can support the flourishing of their natural genius. Right. The Mensa program, which is for a bunch of high IQ individuals, is designed for intellectually advanced individuals to help intellectually advanced children reach their maturity and use their gifts to sustain their life. Right. So Stephen Hawking was a member of Mensa.
Yeah.
What's to do? Steve Jobs was a member of Mensa. Remember my man, cures they don't want you to know about?
Dr. Sebi?
Trudeau. Kevin Trudeau. He was a member of Mensa. Right. They got a little Asian boy. He's a classical musical connoisseur. His last name is Wong. He stayed in Texas. They came and recruited him when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
Right. They got a little brother. He's a chess master. They made sure that he didn't need anything but to play chess. He was 13 years old when he became a chess grandmaster. Right. All it is, that's how the regular people don't know how to raise geniuses. Right. It takes an exceptional regular person to bring out the genius in the child that's more intelligent to them than they are at birth. Right. So you got people like Mensa is looking for those children so that they can help the parent bring out the genius in the child as opposed to leaving them to the miseducation system.
Yeah, that's big facts too, because that's they start that at a very, I wonder, like, what is their scout system for that? Like, how do you feel like they're able to kind of extract that information to get access to
they got somebody in every school that's a scout. They got somebody at every training academy that's a scout. They got somebody at political rallies looking for children speakers. Remember Brother Prophet? His parents wouldn't let him join Mensa because they thought they was white supremacists. He spoke at the Million Man March. He was like 8, 9 years old.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
His parents looked at them people like, y'all just some more white devils coming and exploit another brother.
Right.
They wouldn't let him join, but they have somebody, they reaches so broad and their pockets is so deep. They got people in every walk of life. They got people who only job it is because they love to read so much is to read every major newspaper in the world in multiple languages to look for genius children reports. So they got a lot of ways to locate geniuses.
That's to me it almost reminds me of like the Alphabet Boys when they had their kind of like probe or scope when they were able to find the people like the Madame Blavatsky and the you know what I'm saying, all those different people that they were able to kind of find that had the ability to do remote viewing and who were super psychic and had the ability to speak telepathically with other beings from other planets and all that stuff. It sounds similar to that.
Well, Blavatsky wasn't part of the MK Ultra program. She was long gone when that was started. But there were similar people with the psychic gifts that they were looking for. And when they look for them, they go to places like carnivals back in the day used to have tarot readers, crystal ball readers, palm readers. That used to be the gypsy scene is what it was called. Adolf Hitler studied Theosophy by his instructor, Thule Society, is the ones who told him to study Blavatsky. Right. But he also studied anthroposophy of Rudolf Steiner. And it was by them that made him say, okay, we need to go into Tibet. So he sent Heinrich Himmler to go into Tibet because they was looking for certain artifacts. One was the Spear of Destiny. That's the most famous one that he was looking for. In there is when they found out about Alexander in the Scrolls of Destiny. It's not in the history books. It's not told about Alexander. It's called Humbaba. Humbaba stole the Scrolls of Destiny. What is the Scrolls of Destiny? It's how to govern massive amounts of people, right? Using the 10 areas of people activity. And it's also known in Buddhism as the 10 Buddhist scrolls. So when you read the story of Sun Wukong, they telling him that he had to take a journey to the West to recover the 10 Buddhist scrolls. Right? And that's the only way that he had ascension rights. Right? So it's all related. So when they study in Blavatsky, she's dropping mad clues in her science. All they got to do is don't take it too literal. Look for the clue. When she talk about old man Africa and the secret doctor, she's talking about Inky. Inky settled the Abzu. The Abzu is called South Africa today. Most of us don't know that, so we just go right past when we're reading, and it don't mean nothing. Right. In the Orisha tradition, Inky is called Obatala, which is the quintessential of the great loving father that everybody loved. The warring Orishas bow down to Obatala in love and reverence. Right? But they will fight each other. Shango and all of the male guys will fight each other, bloody war across the planet.
Ogun,
Shango, Ogun, especially them two. Because they always fighting for dominance. Ogun and Shango. They always fighting for sibling dominance. It's the story of Enki and Enlil played out in the Orisha, but it's the same story, which traces right back to the holy drama.
Yeah, because even to the point, man, when you go deep into it, like for practitioners, there's certain elements you can't even use with each one of them. Like if you're dealing with Shango, you might don't want to be messing with like steel. You got to deal with wood and vice versa. If you're dealing with Ogun, you might want to only deal with, iron and steel, because if you bring any of that other stuff, it can get ugly for you. Like, and it's
all of the moderator is to tell you, man, my brother don't play that, man. You come over there with that wrong stuff, you gonna bust you upside your head. That's why everybody got to go to him first.
Yeah.
Hey, you think Oshun gonna take this offering of sour grapes? Nope, that's not hers. You go get us some mangoes. You talking her language now. Get us some. You talking her language, but don't take her them sour ass grapes.
They can get
because she gonna dry up your sweet water.
You don't want that.
So he the one gonna tell you. He gonna be like, I'm not finna go take that message because you gonna get me effed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's gonna flat out tell you what it is, whether you like it or don't like it.
Yeah.
That's gonna work or that's not gonna work. And ain't no it might work. He gonna tell you, nope, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. And patience. And I gotta give Supreme Math another shout out because their book that they talk about on the Supreme Mathematics, I love how they tied in all of the major African or indigenous, ancient spiritual traditions and systems all into this one piece of work, but they was able to kind of pour in or tie in how they all kind of connect. And when you're speaking about, like, even what you were just saying with the different deities deal with different elements or what have you, they break down the divination concept in here with the binary codes of Ifa, the Odu Ifa. Okay, hopefully y'all can see that tribe where you see the binary codes right there with the Odu Ifa. And then they go into all of them though. They break it down from plants of 13 to the Kemetic spaces, like all of them. Even the what is the one that did what's their system called?
I Ching.
Yeah, I Ching. They even got into the I Ching. So it's they got a dope series, man. Like they really drop a lot of jewels in those books that they have. But that's a real thing though, man. Like, and it's kind of like knowing, you gotta know when to hold them, you gotta know when to fold them, but you gotta also know, like playing spades, you gotta know what suit is leading. And then if you gotta follow that suit, and if you cut that suit, you better make for damn sure that you cut it legitimately and the person behind you ain't got something bigger or stronger.
Yeah, that's standard knowing how to stay in your lane.
Yep.
This is the blueprint. This teach you how to stay in your lane. And it's all right to cut. But if you cut too soon, you're gonna cause a wreck.
Facts.
If you cut too late, you go same principle. Stay in your lane. Everybody want to be in somebody else's lane and be wondering why they keep crashing.
Yep.
It's okay to be a crash out if you got a purpose behind it, but don't just be crashing out just to be crashing out of ignorance.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got no problem with crashing out, but there's only one problem. I can't crash out until it's enough people that know why we gonna all crash out together, because I'm not gonna crash out by myself.
Right.
Right, because you ain't gonna never win. It's a book that I read called what was the book name of the book? It was named after the African tribe, but the brother took on that name. His sister wrote the book, and he left Detroit during the early 70s, and the police in Atlanta killed him on a rooftop. But he didn't mind crashing out, but he didn't want to crash out on no dumb stuff.
Right.
But once you got labeled by COINTELPRO, right, you got a national target on your back. And don't mess around and do something conducive to liberation while you on that list. They gonna either murder you or lock you up. Or as they used to say back in the day, they gonna hang you or hang you in effigy.
That's facts.
It's either kill you or kill your persona, your image. That's what they did to Dr. Malachi. They couldn't kill him without deifying him. So they had to kill assassinate his character, kill his image. But it don't take away all that powerful work he did. Unless it's the mind of the unconscious. And the mind of the unconscious, they believe whatever the media tell them, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
After Malcolm already told us, the media will make your worst enemy seem like he your savior and make your best friend seem like he your worst enemy. Malcolm told us that, and we still don't see it.
Nope. No. We talked about that Friday when we were talking about like it doesn't matter even like when it comes to the whole like religion thing, you know what I'm saying? Because like it's all about divide and conquer. Like they have people who come from the continent over here for the first time when they get their visa or temporary visa, green card, whatever. They have to sit through hours of indoctrinating documentaries or, you know what I'm saying, like films or whatever to kind of literally program them with this whole, niggas from America ain't shit mindset. And so when they come here, unbeknownst to them, they didn't really come naturally. Some of them feeling like that. They came because they were made to have to kind of take on this training, quote unquote, from, the edutainment system or the indoctrination system of this corporation before they were able to pass go, like Monopoly. So now, like, when they come in, they already know what they've been trained to do. So then you also have the non-knowing factor where some people just don't know the difference between, brothers and sisters over in Africa and, vice versa. We talked about that with brother Dr. Young last week too. Like, so it's really a very, very powerful divide and conquer strategy and technique that they've been using for a long time. And so I feel like right now, I feel like it's dissolving. But what do y'all feel in regards to us and being able to kind of throw away that mentality, of having animosity or, negativity or whatever the case may be towards one another, from whether it's a different spiritual system or a different part of the globe or whatever the case may be.
When you fight divide and conquer, the hardest part about fighting it is the nature of the individual. If he's a natural xenophobe, you can help him overcome divide and conquer better than you can a person that's a xenophiliac.
Can you break those two down?
Xenophobe means one who accepts and loves strangers. A xenophilia is the fear of strangers. The fear in the because you're always worrying about somebody gonna do something to you that you don't know, right? So you become a xenophobe. The xenophile, they are the ones that, okay, well, a stranger come along, I don't know them, they don't know me, so we need to have a conversation, right? Going back to what we talked about earlier. If you scared of strangers, the divide and conquer boogeyman story gonna work, mother. You scared of people you ain't never had a conversation with? Come on, man. The Rothschilds don't scare me. The Rockefellers don't scare me. The Bilderbergs don't scare me. I don't know them people from Iraq and Iraq. Matter of fact, I might be on more friendly terms with the Rock from Iraq. So they don't have only place they come up in is when I start telling them the truth and their name keep coming up and I have to tell you where their name came up at. Other than that, they don't move me. I don't care what you look like. I care how if you're gonna ride with me till the wheels fall off, or if you're gonna stab me in the back.
Right.
Right. Yes, and normally the one that's gonna stab you in the back, they're gonna tell you a whole bunch of signs before it ever happened. They're gonna tell you stuff like, man, I wish that nigga would. I call the police on him. He's just telling you he gonna call the police on you too. He gonna turn state's evidence for y'all catch a crime together.
Yeah.
Right. Them Charleston white Negroes. The same one that threatened to shoot you and then call the police if you don't like it. You can't win fighting that kind of guy.
Yes. Wow. That is so, oh my God, that's so real. Now think about it. So you said something again, which you always do, but you hit two things. For one, what you just said, that's real amongst us, but that's also the same stuff they did with white people. Like literally, that's the same kind of divide and conquer mentality that they have with us and white people, or for that matter, Americans versus, all that stuff. But then on top of that, the last part, what you just said, that's really, really deep, because now, how does that work? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Garvey was the only movement that was like not, well, no, I think Malcolm's might have been too, but it was one of us that was the rogue agent, or whatever you want to call them.
No, they just them too.
Listen, all of them, for the most part.
Noble True Ali got betrayed by muftis. You couldn't get to Noble True Ali without going through muftis.
And wasn't
Marcus Garvey got betrayed by a Negro.
Yep.
Right. Matter of fact, it's easier to tell you the ones that wasn't took out by Negroes. Medgar Evers was took out by a sheriff. Right. I can't even say MLK because there was so many Negroes involved in the assassination plot. Ministers in the church, mind you, high-ranking ministers in the church, the voice of the people. They collaborating to execute the voice of the people. They the ones who need his voice more than anybody else. And why would they collaborate with the government to execute this man? What can they offer? They can't offer me nothing to make me play that game. I don't know. I just stand on the sideline before I play that part of the game.
That's fast.
So Clarence 13X was shot down by brothers.
Yep.
Because he didn't want them selling drugs in his part of the town.
Khalid Muhammad.
Khalid Muhammad shot by a brother. So it don't matter how far you go back. Nat Turner was told on by a Negro in a fictitious story that they wrote about him.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mark Vasey was betrayed by a Negro, ran back to tell Master they finna start a rebellion. Gabriel Prosper was betrayed by a Negro. We've been fighting niggas the whole time, and we've been thinking we fighting pale. That's how you know. Because when it come to us, they always gonna send a nigga to take us out because there's niggas behind the scenes that making pale face look like they got power. They don't got no power. They got pseudo power. The illusion of power works because nobody never questioned the illusion. How in the hell did some cavemen conquer some Skywalkers with no Skywalker help?
And that's how you know, as far as like, you know, the main reason why they keep us, as far as like the separatism and individualism, is based on, you know, economic disenfranchisement. Because now you're going to be compensating for the lack thereof to where they can utilize you to be a CONTELPRO agent. You know what I'm saying? They can dago money right in front of your face in order you.
It's called the FBI snitch program.
Facts.
They got two different programs. They got the confidential informants. That's the ones that's actually part of the movement that they end up offering them financial support to turn on the movement. Those are your informants. The snitches is the ones that don't got nothing to do with the movement, but they got to report back to the FBI everything they say.
Mm-hmm.
Now neither one of them don't got nothing to do with the agents that's pretending to be members of the party in order to infiltrate. The Black Panthers is a blueprint study guide for niggas infiltrating niggas.
That's facts. Yep.
Why you think Tupac Mama say don't try to do nothing for these people? The people don't respect it. You go out there, you live the best life you can live, right? And in the course of that, if you can do something to inspire them or open some doors for them, you do that, but you don't make that your life purpose, because the same Negroes that need your help is the same Negroes that'll cut you down in the street like a dog.
That's facts.
Now go back and look at Tupac and tell me if Afeni knew what she was talking about.
You know what's funny too? I did this was a while back, a long time ago. I think like when the channel first started, I did a video, a dedication to her. I had just reposted it recently about that. The fact that not only did she do a lot of stuff that I don't know how many people know what she did, but she took on the whole state of New York legal department and beat them single-handedly by herself, got herself off multiple crazy ass charges.
She got the whole Panther. She got all of them off. Her fighting her case got all of them off, not just her. See, everybody make it just her. No, don't diminish her power and her intellectual capacity and limit it to just her. The whole Panther 21 that went down, she was fighting for herself, but the side effect is liberating me gonna liberate you. And that's the blueprint for life.
Yes.
If you learn how to free yourself, if you learn how to free yourself from mental bondage, you're gonna act every time you speak, you're gonna liberate somebody, even one person.
That's facts. Like what's deep and what's dope is that when we take a flight, they show us the blueprint to that right then and there. You got to take the mask and you got to put it on. You got to save yourself before you turn around and help the women and the children and the elderly, or whoever. Right? That's the same as what you're talking about with liberation, and that's deep, because now when you talk about like these conversations that we're having, right, and you have all these stop anything. So Afeni, not only did she do that, but and I don't know how many people knew about that, the Panther 21 story, but she also, in that video, I spoke about her. She was wearing her elekes for Orunmila and Eshu. And that's something that I never knew, she practiced Ifa or, African spiritual traditions or Yoruba, none of that until I saw that picture. But that was dope to me, because then it made me think about hindsight. I know from inside information about how the Oba, Ibatunu, the Oba from Oyotunji, did a lot of work with the Panthers and with Malcolm the nation movement as well. So now that I know that, I'm like, yo, that's dope, because she clearly was rocking those Elekes. And for those who haven't seen the episode, it's like maybe like a week or two old, whereas I think it was a dedication to Tupac and Afeni Shakur. But so the ancient spiritual traditions as well. So how does that, with us having that information, how does that tie into what we know about Pac, and Pac being like the modern King Tut, and then also with his the ranking in which he has in regards to who and what he is?
Something in the ancient traditions that I personally believe his mama did. And when the baby was born to a freedom fighter, they always ask them every day from the time day they born until they answer, "What's your name?" Generally, they won't get the name till the baby is about 8 or 9 months old. Tupac wasn't born Tupac Amaru Shakur. He was born in the same pair as Crooks, right? But when he got about 9 months old, she changed his name, consistent with somebody who practiced the ancient tradition, right? So she's asking Tupac every day when he a baby, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" And then one day he busts out and say, "Tupac." And then she asks him again, because he got to say it 3 times. Now, if you go back and listen to Tupac interviews, he look in the mirror and say 3 times with force, "I am Tupac." Right? He's telling you the method that was used to extract the name from the birth character, the person that's born. Who were you in the past life? Because we need you now. Whoever you was, we need you to come do some more of that kind of stuff. But if you let the child forget, right? If you don't never ask them their name, they can't never tell you.
Right.
And if you don't know what their name was, then you won't know who they are until later in life, around 40, 50 years old. So if you're going to find out when they're 40 or 50, then you got to look at all of our great leaders. How old was Martin when he died?
Like what, 31, 32?
He was 39.
39, okay.
How old was Malcolm?
Mid-30s, early to mid-30s?
39.
Okay. Pac was 25. Fred Hampton was what, like 22?
Yeah. Those are boy kings. If they kill you before your 25th birthday, you a boy king. That means that you're born early with the ability to reach the masses early. You a boy king. That's the symbol that King Tut represents. The boy king. Remember, King Tut ascended the throne when he was what, 12 years old, 11 years old? 11 in Masonic terms is initiation.
What about
22 is elevation, 33 is mastery.
And Nipsey died at 33.
Who you say?
I think Nipsey died at 33, I believe.
Yeah. But the reality about Pac and Nipsey is they was extracted.
Right.
Right. So at mastery age, 33, if they don't take Nipsey off the scene, he'd be the next Tupac. And he didn't even have the same skill set as Tupac.
Right.
But he had the mental ability to communicate to the youth in a manner similar to Tupac. Right? So all of the ages of the fallen greats is.
And if you ever notice, a lot of those individuals, they're balanced.
Yeah.
Like Nipsey, he's from the streets, but he was tapping into his feminine energy when he was able to, articulate himself, and he was, telling people about holistic. Yep.
He had integrity. And he was, there's certain guys, and I love this too, but there's certain guys that we all know that people will be like, he's a man's man. You know what I'm saying? Like that guy, he's like, he's a man's man, he's a guy's guy. Like, just certain guys, certain dudes, certain masculine, I feel like holders of masculine energy who have that ability to captivate not just the people in their immediate circle, but the masses, because of their mastery of being honed in and being who and what they are as a man, But like you say, being able to have that balance to being able to also work heavily with the feminine principles or the feminine energy. I feel like we see that with brothers like Muhammad Ali. We see it with the Pacs. We see it with the Nips. You know what I'm saying? We see it with a bunch of Denzels. Like we see it with a lot of different people in regards to their abilities to be able to manipulate both sides of the energy spectrums. But what makes it different for those like the Pacs or the Nipseys and those the Dessalines is, you know what I'm saying, who were able to tap into it at a masterful level, but also in the role of a general, and still be able to keep the love and support from the feminine, but also garner and hold the love and support, respect and loyalty of the men, and not just the men, but the alpha.
That's that divine masculine energy. That's not regular, what they call alpha energy. That's more like zeta energy, the lone wolf. Right? They can walk alone and still be successful, but they will form the pack that they choose from among the ones that they deal with on their own. You can't put somebody in their pack they don't. Normally, the Zeta Wolf, when he form a pack, he go find a bunch of Zeta Wolves. Or he find a female Zeta Wolf. She's a lone wolf, he's a lone wolf. Hey, you know what? Let's build a clique, a clan, a crew. And we gonna handle this jungle together. And it's to death do us part for real. And they didn't need no preacher and no Bible. And they didn't need no altar in front of no motherfucking church. They made that pact. It's me and you against the world. Me and my girlfriend. Right? My favorite thing about Nip goes back to when I was a child. I spake as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You go study in Nip. This is one thing, and this is my favorite part of it. All his former ops love him to life.
Yes.
Why? Because he catch him in places where he got the ups, and then instead of going into action, he say, "Hey man, let's have a conversation."
Yep.
I ain't never had a chance to have a conversation with you. You might not be my op for real. Then when they got done having the conversation, they're like, "Man, we feel the same way." Right? And that gave him the green light to go into communities that wasn't the 60 community. And to be able to help people that was 9 rolling 60s enjoy the marathon process along with him. That's my favorite part about Nip. I don't care if he did some dirt, because you're not finna get out of the ghetto without doing some dirt.
Right.
You're not gonna grow up in the ghetto and don't do some dirt. Some of us gonna get caught and some of us ain't.
Yes, sir.
Right? But you're not finna walk through where we come from and be squeaky clean. It's just not gonna happen.
But you know what I love about that? Oh my God, I love where this conversation is going. Oh my God. What I love about that is what you just said, I could take in the spiritual lane and say, like, that's like Baba Obatala not getting his white soil. You know what I'm saying? He's the king of the white cloth, right? Serenity, peace, all that good stuff, patience. But what you just said, you said something, and I'm thinking of, in my mind, of people who I feel like were masters at that. Yes, Pac was a master at that. Yes, Nipsey was a master at that. But the one who I really, and I don't get it twisted, I rock with both of them, but the one who I also feel like, I don't know how many people look at him in this light, but I do, because I know what I see and I see what I see, is Big Meech. Big Meech did that with BMF to where he was able to go anywhere. And I'm talking about he did it on a masterful level, bro. I've been studying business like I study spirituality, and I know the outliers. Meech is that dude. But to take it another step further, a lot of people, I don't know how many of our people know this name, but Reginald Lewis, who was the first Black billionaire who hails out of Maryland, shout out to Baltimore, out of Maryland, he was the first Black billionaire who came out of the projects or out of the slums of Baltimore, Maryland, went and played football, went to Harvard, got his law degree, studied law, and he was able to get into the mergers and acquisition space by being the attorney representing one of the businesses that was going in for the takeover. What he was able to do is see, like, oh, if I could do this representing them as an attorney, hell, why don't I go back and just start buying my own businesses? And so he started acquiring businesses That's how he became the first black billionaire. But it took him still having that grit and having that, you know what I'm saying, that dog in him that he had to have growing up in B-more and on the football field. And he took that same energy that I wish a mother would and apply that to the business world and in the educational space. And he did it at a masterful level. So what I'm hearing is we're talking about masterful generals and masterful leaders of men and women, or I should say nations. Is that not?
Big Meech, you got to go back and look at what he was doing. When you read a person's actions, you know what their purpose is. Big Meech kept a lot of young goons with him, but they was under control. They listen to what they say. We had houses everywhere we went and cars. We never had to rent a hotel room. Mm-hmm. He was teaching the young brothers from where we from. When you get this money, you got to know how to live. You can't live for the money. You got to make the money pay for how you live. It's a difference. The ones that live for the money will do anything for money. But the ones who use the money, like pimps use hoes, is the one who you can get anything from, they'll do anything for you. Just don't cross it. And all of them young dudes, man, he had some heavyweight hitters with him. A lot of people never heard their names and they never got in trouble because he didn't allow it. If you're gonna be with me, you're gonna be all the way in, or you can get the fuck on. And that's why I did a show about Big Meech on Young Elder, while I was explaining to them one of the reasons they had to get rid of him. He was the only one of the chiefs on the land teaching the young males, when you get money, how to treat women, how to treat your ops, how to treat your friends, how to treat your family. Mm-hmm. And that made him bigger than the man. The actions made him bigger than.
What you just said for Big Meech, that ashe, that juice, that juju, whatever we want to call it, that's the same masterful way that Pac mastered words and mastered poetry, whether it was through music or even in the film industry. Like, he was a poet. I was watching Juice the other day, and to this day, the scene, a lot of them scenes are my favorites, but the one where he was talking to Q at the locker at the end, after he had already murdered Raheem and you know what I'm saying, Quillez and all them, that you can't tell me a person who puts on a performance like that, I don't care what nobody says, that is that person for real. That's a character, but that is in that person, and that person is more than capable, or that really am them. They are that person, right? Like, that's who Pac was. But Meech did that in the business way. He did it with economics. He did it with financial literacy. He did it with integrity. He did it with nation building. I'm not condoning what he did it and what his business industry was, but I damn sure respect it because of not only how he did it, but he made it to the top in doing it.
Mm-hmm. Look, once the government flooded our community with drugs, we got two options: be victimized by the drugs or control how it affects us. You don't got no other options. Either all of the money gonna be getting sucked out the hood, or we gonna use the same poison they gave us to lock the money into the hood. I got a song, I say the feds behind every single hot dope, right? Because the most drugs ever brought into this country was under the watch of George Herbert Walker Bush as part of Iran-Contra, which gave rise to the crack boom. It's not a coincidence that the crack boom happened at the same time they was negotiating the hostage releases from Iranians places, but they was really in Arizona the whole psyop played on the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where we get Freeway the real Rick Ross from. Mm-hmm. Like the alphabet.
He wasn't never supposed to do a day. I'm gonna tell you why. It's on the books, it's in the law. If the government creates a crime and solicits a civilian to participate in the crime, they can't prosecute him for a crime. It's called entrapment. It's in their law. I didn't write it, they did.
Right. But the fact that you
You know what I'm
picked that,
saying?
yeah, that's real.
None of them, anybody that's get caught with over a couple of ounces, when you start talking about kilos of cocaine, they work for the government knowingly or unknowingly. That's who they work for.
Trafficking, RICO.
Right. Yeah. So if you don't know you working for the government, the government don't care. Ignorance of law is no excuse. The only thing about it is when they come to remove you from the area, then you don't have a defense because you didn't know you was working for the government.
Yeah. That's
Look,
real.
you can go on YouTube right now and put LA cop exposes CIA involvement in drugs in LA. And you'll see the cop that unraveled the connection with the DEA, CIA, and the Iran Contra investigating Ricky Ross. That's who he was investigating when he discovered all this stuff. He wasn't never supposed to get no time. Harry-O wasn't never supposed to get no time. Because even if they didn't know it, they was part of a government-created criminal enterprise.
Conspiracy.
And that's one of the reasons why they had to, because that's what they charged Larry with when they sent him to Ad with drug conspiracy. How in the hell is he a drug trafficker? He ain't been out of prison in 30 years at the time. He can't control what's going on the streets, especially when the government bring it in.
Because those laws wasn't even on the books back then, right?
Which ones?
Like the RICO and the trafficking and all that stuff that we talking about. That
RICO been on the books since I think the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
RICO was originally written to capture the illicit wealth of mob enterprise organizations.
Yep. And a lot of that money came from the Caritas network, the Vatican Bank. They gave about $2 billion to the cartel as far as like, the distribution aspects of the drugs and everything. So a lot of that stuff came from the Vatican, a lot of the financing.
They be telling us stuff, but we don't be paying no attention.
Yeah.
They started the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, under George Herbert Walker Bush. Just by the name alone, what is they enforcing? DEA stand for Drug Enforcement Agency. What is they enforcing? They already have major crimes bureaus in the FBI. They don't need nobody specializing in drugs.
Right.
Unless they distributors.
Yeah. Well, they definitely was moving weight. I'll tell you that. They were moving big weight. Yeah, that's okay.
Look,
right.
Oliver North, the only one got convicted in Iran Contra. They gave him a 1-day suspended jail sentence and 1 year probation. He brought him, him and the president, vice president, and I think the other dude name was Poindexter. But they brought in more drugs into America than every so-called gang chief combined. Because none of the gang chiefs brought no drugs into America.
Right. You ain't got no boats. No.
Let me ask you this, because now I really got my spidey senses all percolating and riled up. Now, how does that play into the Frank Lucas organization? Because now he was bringing in that work from the Philippines from the Vietnam War.
That was Obama's stepdaddy operation, Lolo Sotoro.
Yep.
And they was using bodies in Vietnam to smuggle it too. That was all through Lolo Sotoro's intelligence agency of the Philippines. You remember that was an extension of the Opium Wars.
Okay, so now let me ask this, because this is where I love this conversation, man. Because we covering a whole lot of ground tonight. Let's just say Wizard of Oz, trickery, fuckery, whatever we want to call it, that's going on with this corporation that's known or disguising itself like a country. how does that all that work into the corporation and like the dismantling of the corporation and us seeing these parasites fall off or flee off the planet like scabs on a wound? Like, how does all that kind of tie into what's happening right now when we talk about the activation?
Well, human consciousness. Human consciousness has the ability to manipulate everything in third density. So the more we wake up, the more we're going to reset the system. The more the Black woman heals her wound, the more she's going to reset the system. Because like the more you heal, it's going to eliminate, the silver key that's connected to the moon, right? As far as like the women's menstrual cycle, it's going to be eliminated. So like I said, once the woman heals and everybody's on the same mental frequency, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to, when people talking about God cracking a damn, sky and stuff like that, I wouldn't say, from that standpoint, it's going to happen like that, but it can cause a great solar flash.
And we're expecting.
You gotta remember the sun's solar flares and the Earth's human resonance is the conversation that the sun is having with Earth. Right? The menstrual cycle not gonna go nowhere, it's just be more under control, like it used to be. When we was under the Lilith moon instead of the lunar moon, the women decide to have a baby will activate her menstrual cycle. She go through 2 cycles to cleanse the body.
Okay.
And then before the 3rd cycle comes, she get impregnated. She could do it back then. She was able to have 2 forms of birth. Either she could do what's called sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction, which is parthenogenesis.
Yep.
When they put the moon there, this is where they say woman will travail in childbirth. The only reason why she have labor pains is because she can't control the contractions of the uterus. All that's done through the lunar cycles.
That's powerful. Because listen, even for people who are into dogs, I know like when you get a puppy, they say that you're not supposed to let that puppy like pretty much breed before having at least 2 cycles. And really they say she should be 2 years old, but there's a certain amount of cycles that's in the equation in regards to when you can start breeding the puppy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's at least 2 cycles, right? So now we're hearing that. But isn't that also like some sort of connection to how mathematics came into play with the 30-day cycle as well, with the moon cycle and the feminine menstrual cycle and how, how that all ties into mathematics?
Yeah, it's another way to extract the energy. It's another way to siphon the energy from the matriarch. That's all it is. That's why I tell people all the time, the moon is nothing but a external hard drive to planet Earth. It's a quantum satellite that manipulates, feminine energy.
Got you. I tell you what, it's getting late. I got 2 more if we can get 2 more in real quick, family. One, I'm glad this came up. Shout out to Q Gold with did y'all hear anything about this stuff that's going on in Texas with like the floods and
Yeah, I heard about it. I ain't really looked into it. Yep.
And then what about the Vegas thing with all those poles, those light poles and all that got knocked down? Y'all hear anything about that? Because I saw somebody asked about that too. I wasn't really familiar on it.
So look, the crazy part about that, go look at the video. All of the poles that's down is only on one side of the street. They all snapped close to the ground. That's the hardest place to break a telephone pole.
Or any standing structure.
And all of them are not wood. But across the street, all of the poles are still standing up.
So what do you think that was?
Energy weapon.
A direct energy weapon?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just think if it would have been let's say it would have been an earthquake, it would have been more than the ones on one side of the street.
Right.
Let's say if it was a tornado, it would have been buildings affected as well.
Facts.
Right. So we ruled out earthquake, we ruled out tornado. The heat alone can't do it, or else it would have been all of the poles. It's just one side of the street. And they all leaning over into the street.
Right.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
Or what?
You think that was a codex?
It was a coded message. I mean, all of the old poles have failed posts. A post is a position in the old system.
Mm.
Right?
Now,
and the old system was a one-sided system.
So was this a corporation? Was this an experiment or like a direct attack from the corporation, or was it from the light being the freedom fighters, or those angelic, or whatever you want to call them, the elders, like the higher level god deities, demigods?
Well, it got to knock your fingerprints all over.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna see a lot of ontological monolithic structures. A lot of them are going to be destroyed because they're built on dark ley lines. Because they control a lot of the geomancy infrastructure. If you go downtown to a lot of your cities or whatever, like in your hometown, whatever, you're gonna see a lot of those Freemasonic, monolithic structures, and they're in harmony, with certain ley line grid systems, and eventually they're going to be destroyed because it's all part of the sleep spell.
To dig, I gotta say this while Bdell on there because he a super sleuth, and he'll go dig this information up. My give a fuck meter not gonna move enough to make me go look it up, but it's significant to the total number of polls that fail as to who the message was for. Whether it was the north, south, east, or west side of the street is relevant. Right? Because all of those things are relevant. And then if you can get a time frame when it was first noticed.
You already
right.
did this to me once already. I'm gonna go look it up.
That's what he just said. That's dope, because now you're talking about the 4 quadrants of, you know what I'm saying? That's deep. That's real deep. The number's gonna matter. All that's gonna play into exactly when you talk about gematria. It all plays into what.
Don't forget that the name of the street matter too.
Yep. Everything's connected. All of it.
That's how you decipher what code is being spoke. Now remember, before Texas got a flood, China got flooded.
Yep. It sure did. I forgot about that.
But we forgot last year about the same time Saudi Arabia got flooded. So all those are signs.
Somebody looked this up too, but hopefully one of y'all heard about it. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's water either already starting to crack the surface or has started surfacing in the Sahara. Is it the Sahara? One of the big deserts. Water.
I know the desert in the Middle East had multiple. Matter of fact, first the Tigris and Euphrates dried up, and then it came back with an overflowing of water.
We had a lot of Oshun talk tonight.
And another thing, Atlanta was flooded too. That weekend
sure was
down there. Yep.
Atlanta's had some stuff.
I think they starting to do this shit on purpose to find out who's cracking the codes or not.
I believe so, because last time I was in the A, they had that chemical plant explosion. It didn't we just talk about Atlanta being Atlantis, and then also about a lot of the connections in between that 33rd parallel, that was it, ley line.
Yeah,
that was the last conversation all three of us had.
Yeah, I told you, Ryan, if you would have showed up, reset would have happened right there.
Universal,
I got one question. Did y'all hear about this? In Detroit, the TV broadcast got interrupted, and people was getting telepathic messages through their TV that we are the Anunnaki and we are here.
Yeah,
this shit ain't no accident.
I heard about that.
I think on IG, man, that I ain't surprised it was real. I actually saved that too. I got that in my. I said that.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't know the authenticity of it, but I take Rod. I trust his information more than anybody's a lot.
Look, over Georgia, they had a pulse that showed up on the weather radar, right? For a flash, like less than a second. That covered about 2/3 of Georgia. Another thing that just happened, the government just announced that they were scaling back they microwave weather watch, their live Doppler radar is being limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, come on now.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of somebody? Matter of fact, I'm gonna put it into you in car terms. You ever heard of a Pinto driver retire from driving Pintos, get a Ferrari, and then decide he want to go? This don't make sense.
Did you also hear about them? They said they can no longer predict the weather.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Them cutting that budget,
okay.
But they cut the budget not because they didn't want to like be able to help with the storm. They cut it because they know all the activity that's going on, and they don't want people to have access to knowing how much real shit is happening. But you can't stop it. You cannot
And
stop
the radar also tracks aerial phenomenon too.
Yeah.
And we ain't talking about the phenomena in the waters as well, because there's a lot going on in the waters right now. A lot.
Hey, watch the movie. Everything that Rod's talking about. Watch the movie Childhood's End. It's on YouTube.
I'm at 4% now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, now we're gonna wrap it up. We went in, man. We definitely venue. So that just goes to show you can't stop the energy of the creator. Is gonna get to where it's supposed to get to. It's gonna be where it's supposed to be. It's gonna see who it's supposed to see. So with that, man, I definitely appreciate y'all brothers coming through. Big Chief, the research scientist, and Chief Pontiac, man. But nah, I appreciate y'all, man. Try everybody for sharing. Make it do what it do. And with that, fellas, y'all want to leave the tribe or anything?
Stay balanced. Stay balanced. Keep your dark and your light side.
I say. That's what's up. Yeah, family. And keep your eyes to the sky. Keep your eyes on the inside of that heart chakra. Ibasun day to day, and that is the technology of the heart and the chakra. So and technology. So with that, man, we're gonna sign off, and I give thanks again for the love, support, the like, share, everything's for us to make this happen. We're gonna continue on the platform or off. But with that, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Let's get it. We'll see y'all on the next episode. Don't forget to please shout out to family. I need y'all to sign up for Patreon, because that's where I'm gonna be doing. We're gonna get the replays and connect with everybody on the Patreon to this. And with that, man, I appreciate y'all, family. So I'll talk to y'all brothers soon, and I'll definitely see y'all in the very near future. Tribe, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your.